Chapter 744. Zili was already at the early stage of the Ghost Profound realm, so she could be considered a great help. With the strength of Zili's spirit wheel, she might even be able to fight against a mid-stage Ghost Profound expert. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Ning Fan transmitted his voice to Zili and comforted her. Then, he continued to study Shadi's Tao comprehension. The Tao comprehension of Shadi's lifetime was certainly not something he could comprehend in a short period of time. With the help of Shadi's Tao comprehension, Ning Fan had already comprehended the first style of the heaven-seizing seal to the perfect level. Then, he began to practice the Big Dipper heavenly scripture. The Big Dipper heavenly tome had a great origin. It was a cultivation method created by the Big Dipper immortal sovereign. The first-generation Slayer Emperor had learned this technique from the Northern Dipper immortal sovereign, but it was incomplete, and the cultivation technique he passed down was also incomplete. If he cultivated according to the Big Dipper heavenly book, he could at most cultivate his immortal luck to the 6th color. If he wanted to cultivate an immortal Emperor 7-colored providence, he would have to find another method. Although the Big Dipper heavenly scripture was incomplete, it could not conceal the power of this cultivation technique. The heavenly book was divided into 2 volumes. The first volume talked about the cultivation method of luck, while the second volume talked about the technique of luck plundering. The Big Dipper heavenly scripture's main method of cultivating destiny was to refine the starry sky's power into destiny. It was very difficult to achieve success in cultivating it in a short time. The true power of this cultivation technique lay in the plundering of fate. Generally speaking, cultivating one's chi and fate was connected to one's fate. One could cultivate it, but could not plunder it. It just so happened that the Big Dipper immortal emperor was extremely talented and created the Big Dipper reversal technique, which could reverse the luck of others. The Big Dipper reversal technique was recorded in the second half of the Tomes of Heaven. The Big Dipper reversal technique could only be used on those with higher providence than the user, as the efficiency of plundering providence was relatively low. Furthermore, during the casting process, the opponent was not allowed to resist, or the technique would be interrupted. The grade of Ning Fan's immortal luck was already at the first colored immortal luck. If he can plunder the luck of 100 cultivators with the second colored immortal luck, he would be able to break through to the second colored immortal luck. For an ordinary immortal cultivator, even if they cultivated to the crossing truth realm, they might not be able to cultivate a 1-colored immortal fate, much less a 2-colored immortal fate. Finding 100 perfected immortals with 2-colored immortal luck and plundering their luck was easier said than done. A cultivator with 3-colored immortal luck had 10 times the luck of a cultivator with 2-colored immortal luck. A cultivator with 4-colored immortal luck had 10 times the luck of a cultivator with 3-colored immortal luck. If Ning Fan could plunder the luck of 10 cultivators with 3-colored immortal luck or 1 cultivator with 4-colored immortal luck, it would be enough for him to attain the second color of his immortal luck. I have the enlightenment of the Slayer Emperor. It is not difficult for me to learn the Big Dipper reversal art. If there is a chance, I can steal the luck of others to improve my own luck. With this thought in mind, Ning Fan continued to comprehend the Big Dipper heavenly scripture and gradually gained some insights. 3 days later, Ning Fan pushed open the door and walked out of the disciple house. Outside the house, there were already 2 ghost-faced old women waiting. They were Yao Qin Yun's 2 Duzhen maids, Lu Lan and Yen Hong. As soon as they saw Ning Fan walking out, the 2 ladies immediately said politely, "Today is the day you are going to receive the baptism of the blood pool. Elder Qin Yun ordered us to bring you to the blood pool pavilion. Seniors, please lead the way." Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly. Without saying much, he followed the 2 of them to the blood pool pavilion. Along with the increase in his life-saving methods, he was no longer afraid of Yao Qinyan's provocations, nor was he afraid of Fei He's schemes. The 3 jade slips that Sha Di gave him were all stored in the profound Yin world by Ning Fan. Ning Fan knew that the baptism of the blood pool that he was going to receive was of the highest grade. During the entire process, he could not wear any clothes. Therefore, he naturally could not bring them into his storage pouch. Therefore, he had already moved his strongest life-saving methods to the profound Yin world. Outside the blood pool pavilion, the two ladies stopped in their tracks and said, "Little friend, your baptism is of the highest grade. Other than you and Elder Qin Yun who is in charge of the baptism, no one is allowed to enter the blood pool pavilion to avoid disturbing the baptism. The two of us are not allowed to enter the pavilion. Little friend, you can enter on your own." "Understood." Ning Fan nodded his head and walked into the blood pool pavilion alone. The moment he entered the pavilion, countless powerful formation lights rose outside the pavilion. They could stop anyone from entering the pavilion and disturb the baptism. From the outside, the blood pool pavilion was just a pavilion. However, the interior of the pavilion had its own space. There were hundreds of palaces inside the pavilion. At this moment, there was not a single person in the area. In each of the palaces, there was an empty blood pool. The air was filled with a faint smell of blood. It was the smell of the blood of demonic beasts. Ning Fan scanned the area with his spirit sense. After confirming the direction, he walked towards the largest palace. Outside the palace, there was a lady in green robes with a frosty face. Her fine black hair fluttered slightly in the wind. As soon as she saw Ning Fan approaching her, she said coldly, "As a disciple of the Killing Palace, why didn't you greet me when you saw me?" This lady was none other than Yao Qingyun, who was in charge of Ning Fan's baptism. Today, Yao Qingyun was in a rather bad mood. As for the reason, it was naturally because she had no choice but to face Ning Fan naked and help him complete his baptism. Ning Fan frowned slightly. He still cupped his fists at Yao Qingyun and said, "Disciple Ning Fan greets Elder Qingyun. Dispense with the formalities. Follow me into the blood pool." Seeing Ning Fan frown, Yao Qingyun's mood became much better. She was unhappy here. If Ning Fan is happy, wouldn't it be too unfair? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He did not expect that Yao Qingyun would lead him into the blood pool after making things difficult for him. Previously, Ning Fan guessed that Yao Qingyun hated him to the core. She would probably take action against him during this baptism. However, looking at Yao Qingyun's expression now, even though there was still disgust towards him, it did not seem to be as resentful as before. Could it be that this lady no longer hates me? Or is she just hiding her hatred and wants to harm me when I'm careless? Ning Fan's frown deepened. He became extremely vigilant and followed behind Yao Qingyun into the palace. If Yao Qingyun really wants to harm him, he would not mind teaching her a painful lesson. The jade slip of an immortal venerate's attack was totally enough to blast Yao Qingyun into pieces. Killing intent. Yao Qingyun was slightly stunned. She turned her head and looked at Ning Fan doubtfully. She was Elder Shikong after all. Although Ning Fan's killing intent only flashed for a moment, she still managed to catch it. At the moment when Ning Fan's killing intent flashed, Yao Qingyun felt an extreme sense of danger from him for the first time. She did not believe that Ning Fan could give her such a sharp sense of danger. As far as she knew, Ning Fan's strongest trump card was the Spirit Blast technique of the Yao clan. Moreover, the number of primordial spirits that Ning Fan possessed was not enough to give her a sense of danger. Was it just my imagination? Yao Qingyun shook her head and continued walking forward. Of course, she did not know that Ning Fan's trip to the blood world had given him a few more trump cards. The level of danger he would be in was already immeasurable. The palace occupied an area of 10,000 zhang. The ground was filled with countless blood grooves that formed circles of mysterious and indescribable formation marks. At the center of the countless blood grooves was a gigantic blood pool that was 1,000 zhang in size. The pool was 2 qi deep and it was filled with the sticky, dark red blood of demon beasts. Judging from the energy of the blood of these demon beasts was at least at the rogue immortal realm. There were even quite a number of immortal life realm demon beasts. Yao Qingyun stood outside the blood groove grand formation at the outermost layer. She puffed out her chest proudly and said to Ning Fan coldly. Take off your clothes and enter the blood pool. I will help you concoct spiritual herbs to harmonize the demon blood and help you absorb the energy of the blood pool. Take off my clothes, huh? Ning Fan walked to the edge of the pool. With a flick of his sleeve, he kept his clothes, storage pouch and other items into his cauldron world. Then, he leaped into the blood pool and sat inside. He did not take off his clothes and put them aside. After all, Yao Qingyun was not Ouyang Nuan. She was not worthy of his trust. Humph. Are you afraid that I will steal your things? Who do you think I am? Why would I steal something from a void fragmentation realm junior like you? Yao Qingyun let out a disdainful snort. Her eyes accidentally fell on Ning Fan's naked body and she immediately showed a look of disgust. Yao Qingyun shifted her gaze away. She felt extremely displeased. Damn it. I just saw something that I shouldn't have seen. I wonder if I will get eye sores or not. Damn it. I still have to go into the water myself later and have physical contact with that stinky brat. Damn it. I really shouldn't have made that bet in the first place. Unfortunately, I have already made the bet and lost it. I can't go back on my words. The only thing Yao Qingyun could do was to accept her loss. Yao Qingyun patted her storage pouch and took out tens of thousands of tufts of spiritual herbs that were above 100,000 years old. She chanted an incantation and her 10 fingers moved rapidly. All of a sudden, the blood groove grand formations in the palace lit up one after another. The tens of thousands of tufts of spiritual herbs flew into the pool and fused with the demon blood in the pool. Gradually, the dark red and sticky demon blood turned green and then golden. Eventually, it turned colorless and crystal clear like ordinary water. It was just that this seemingly ordinary pool water contained a vast amount of energy. Sitting in the pool, Ning Fan felt his body getting hotter and hotter. His face turned red and traces of black substance were being forced out of his body by the heat. All of a sudden, Ning Fan understood the principle behind how the blood pool could increase his chances of becoming an immortal. This blood pool had an effect similar to cleansing one's meridians and marrow. However, the black substance that was cleansed out did not come from his meridians and marrow. Instead, it came from his Tao heart and Tao sense. By sweeping away the distracting thoughts and negative emotions in his Tao heart, it would increase his chances of becoming an immortal. After understanding the key, Ning Fan calmed himself down and used the power of the blood pool to clear his Tao heart bit by bit. The purpose of baptism was to cleanse his Tao heart thoroughly. Humph. I haven't even explained the key to him but he already understood it on his own. Yao Qingyun let out a dissatisfied snort. However, she had to admit that Ning Fan's comprehension ability was very high. He even understood the usage of the blood pool on his own. The blood groove grand formation had been activated and the spiritual herbs in the pool had also been prepared. The next step was extremely important. Yao Qingyun needed to use her profound cultivation base to help Ning Fan cleanse his Tao heart. At the thought of facing Ning Fan naked, Yao Qingyun felt gloomy. She silently chanted an incantation to suppress all the negative emotions in her heart. Then, she walked towards the pool with light steps. When she arrived at the edge of the pool, she hesitated for a moment. In the end, she gritted her teeth and undid the buttons on her outer robe with her bare hands. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with vigilance. He stared at Yao Qingyun without blinking and focused all his attention on her. He had already carefully checked the water in the pool. There was nothing wrong with it. Until now, Yao Qingyun had yet to make a move on him. He did not feel relaxed at all. Instead, he became even more vigilant. He did not believe that Yao Qingyun could easily cast aside the blood feud of the Yao clan and become friends with him. Perhaps, the moment Yao Qingyun takes off her clothes would be the moment when her killing intent arrives. Being stared at by Ning Fan as if he was guarding against a wolf, Yao Qinyan's heart throbbed and countless flames of anger were ignited. Dissatisfied. Extremely dissatisfied. What kind of eyes does Ning Fan have? So distrustful. So vigilant. Who was she, Yao Qinyan? She was a dignified elder of the Slaughter Palace. If she wanted to deal with Ning Fan, she would have plenty of opportunities. Why would she need to sacrifice her body to do so? If it wasn't because of the bet she made with the Nether Sea Immortal King, would she be so kind as to host the blood pool baptism for him? She had always been a woman of her word. Since she had promised the Nether Sea Immortal King that she would help Ning Fan complete his baptism, she would never go back on her word. Even if she wants to deal with Ning Fan, she would do it after the baptism in the blood pool and not now. Put down your guard. This baptism, this palace won't do anything to you. Yao Qinyan said indignantly. I don't believe it. Ning Fan answered without hesitation. You. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Yao Qinyan clenched her teeth in anger. She explained to Ning Fan out of goodwill, but he still did not believe her. All right. If he doesn't believe me, then so be it. She did not care whether Ning Fan believed her or not. Most importantly, Ning Fan's eyes were fixed on her, paying close attention to every single one of her actions. Under such a scorching gaze, how could she have the nerve to take off her clothes? Elder Qinyan, you still haven't entered the pool. Could it be that you are thinking of some scheme? Ning Fan's tone was cold as he examined Yao Qinyan. If I want to deal with you, do I still need to use schemes? Yao Qinyan was so angry that she laughed. For a moment, she cast aside all her shyness and undid the buttons on her clothes one by one. She took off her outer robe and then untied her silk belt. After taking off her embroidered shoes, socks, and undergarments, she placed all her clothes in her storage pouch at the side of the pool. Then, she proudly raised her fair neck and looked at Ning Fan with disdain. She crossed her arms across her chest to cover her breasts and stepped into the pool naked. She did not bring anything with her. She was open and aboveboard, unlike Ning Fan who was so vigilant. He even thought that an old monster like Shi Kong too would need to plot against a Void Fragmentation Realm Junior, sneak attack and scheme. Ning Fan frowned. Yao Qinyan's current expression was proud and upright. It did not seem like she was plotting anything. Could it be that he had misunderstood Yao Qinyan? Yao Qinyan did not plan to deal with him during the baptism in the blood pool. Amidst the faint mist, Yao Qinyan's fair body was faintly discernible. She actually looked a little beautiful. Every inch of her delicate skin seemed to contain boundless magic power. It actually messed up Ning Fan's Dao heart in an instant. His blood vessels surged and his heart was filled with lust. It was as if there was a bewitching voice persuading Ning Fan to rush forward, pounce on Yao Qinyan and tear her apart. Ning Fan was startled. He quickly activated the Yin-Yang transformation heart mantra to suppress his lust. The way he looked at Yao Qinyan secretly carried a hint of surprise. This lady has the charming bone in her body. Even though it has been sealed, it still emits bewitching power uncontrollably. If I'm not wrong, this lady probably has a type of 7-yin physique. As Yao Qinyan approached him step by step, Ning Fan lost his composure. He was not the only one who lost his composure. Yao Qinyan also lost her composure. She never had any lust towards Ning Fan. All she felt was disgust. However, just as she was 5 steps away from Ning Fan, her delicate body suddenly went limp. Her heart felt numb. It was actually the green pity physique that almost broke out. The green pity physique was a type of 7-yin physique. Because of this physique of hers, the life immortal realm experts of the Yao clan had once tried to keep her as a human cauldron. As her cultivation base gradually grew, this physique was sealed by her bit by bit. Unexpectedly, when she faced Ning Fan naked this time, the seal on her physique was actually broken a little. That was close. Luckily, it's just a little bit. With my cultivation base, I can still suppress it. If the seal on my physique is completely broken in front of Ning Fan and my seductive body is exposed, I'd rather die. Yao Qingyun heaved a sigh of relief. She walked to Ning Fan and sat cross-legged in the pond. The pond water could barely reach half of her chest. Besides, the water was very clear and it could not cover the fair skin on her body at all. The seal on her physique had been broken a little, but the numbness in her body had yet to subside. Facing Ning Fan in such a state, Yao Qingyun could not remain as calm as she was before. When she looked at Ning Fan's handsome face again, Yao Qingyun actually took a second look at him. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly and her black eyes became a little blurred. At the next moment, she was shocked by her own action. She should hate Ning Fan, but the 17 physique made her want to get close to this man in front of her uncontrollably. Damn it! Damn it! Why is this damned physique acting up now? Yao Qingyun bit her lips hard. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her lips. She used the pain to slightly calm the desire brought by her physique. Then, without looking at Ning Fan, she said coldly, "Raise your hands and face my palms. I'll help you clear the distracting thoughts in your Tao heart." It was not that she was too lazy to look at Ning Fan, but she did not dare to. There was no need to talk about Ning Fan's appearance. His body had long become perfect because of all kinds of physiques. Even Yao Qingyun, who had the 17 physique, instinctively regarded Ning Fan as a peerless human cauldron and wanted to get close to him. Yao Qingyun naturally did not dare to look at Ning Fan anymore, as she was afraid that her 17 physique would act up again. "Are you in trouble?" Ning Fan looked at the trace of blood at the corner of Yao Qingyun's lips. He frowned slightly and asked for some reason. "What does my matter have to do with you? Quickly face my palms and don't talk nonsense." Yao Qingyun made a cold smile, wanting to express the contempt in her heart to Ning Fan. It was obviously a cold smile, but because of the 17 physique, that smile was dyed red with intoxicating charm. It was sweet and moving. She was obviously scolding Ning Fan, but because of the 17 physique, that voice sounded like a whisper from a lover. Is the 17 physique acting up? Ning Fan could vaguely see some clues. If it was possible, he did not mind being a shameless villain and taking advantage of Yao Qingyun's situation to push down this 17 physique that came to him. Unfortunately, Yao Qingyun's cultivation base was too high. She was at the void renunciation realm and was not someone he could pluck. If Yao Qingyun did not take the initiative to dual cultivate with him, he would at least need to cultivate to the crossing truth realm in order to be strong. After thinking for a while, Ning Fan temporarily dismissed the idea of dealing with Yao Qingyun. Today was the day of his baptism in the blood pool. If he wanted to borrow the power of the blood pool to increase his chances of becoming an immortal by 15%, he would need Yao Qingyun's help. If Yao Qingyun's condition was not good, it would also be very disadvantageous to him. "What are you still standing there for? Raise your hands." Yao Qingyun impatiently grabbed Ning Fan's hands and put them in a position where their palms were facing each other. Her soft palms were weak and the qi in her body was already in a mess. As soon as her palms touched Ning Fan's skin, Yao Qingyun's body became even more numb. She felt that there was a ball of fire in her chest that was about to burn her to death. Yao Qingyun bit the tip of her tongue and suppressed her desire once again. She felt that she was about to collapse. This damned physique. Why would it break the seal and act up at this moment? All of a sudden, a trace of cool magical power was transmitted from Ning Fan's palm into Yao Qingyun's body. In an instant, the numbness in Yao Qingyun's body immediately disappeared. With Ning Fan's help, her desire was easily suppressed. Yao Qingyun looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. She could not believe that the man in front of her would be so kind as to help her suppress her desire. "What is your purpose? Do you think that I will forgive you for all the offenses you have committed in the past just because you showed me some goodwill?" Yao Qingyun sneered. "So it's Ning Fan's unnecessary action." Ning Fan frowned and stopped transferring his magical power into her body. He no longer helped Yao Qingyun suppress her desire. All of a sudden, the cool feeling in Yao Qingyun's body disappeared and the numbness spread all over her body. She did not expect that Ning Fan would suddenly withdraw his magical power. Due to a moment of carelessness, she was completely lost in her desire. Her pretty face instantly flushed red. Her fair skin glowed with a pink luster. Under her long eyelashes, her eyes looked as if they were about to drip water. Her palms that were originally facing Ning Fan suddenly intertwined with each other. Quick! Help me quickly! Yao Qingyun bit the tip of her tongue fiercely. However, she realized that the pain was no longer enough to suppress her desire. Why should I help you? Of course, Ning Fan knew that Yao Qingyun's ambiguous words were not referring to helping her once in a while but helping her suppress her desire. If you help me this time, all the previous offenses will be written off. Yao Qingyun gasped, her body involuntarily leaning towards Ning Fan. She knew that if Ning Fan still refuses to help her, she would be controlled by her lust and push him down. That was a scene she did not want to see even if she died. Write it off. Then what about the matter of you offending me? Ning Fan said coldly. You, don't, go overboard, this is the first time I'm giving in to a man, quickly, help me. Yao Qingyun's smooth tongue licked Ning Fan's neck. Her heart was filled with shame and indignation as she fiercely bit him. His expression was fierce, but his bite was too weak. Ning Fan knitted his brows. He had never thought that he would have to resolve the grudge between him and Yao Qingyun in this way. He naturally didn't want Yao Qingyun to lose control. If Yao Qingyun lost control and pushed him down, he would be killed by Yao Qingyun if he didn't resist. If he used the attack jade scroll given by the Slayer to fight back, he could kill Yao Qingyun instantly, but it would be a waste of a jade scroll. Since Yao Qingyun was willing to write off all the grudges in the past, Ning Fan did not mind saving a jade scroll and having one less enemy. Elder Qingyun, please swear that all the grudges in the past will be written off. Ning Fan said coldly. I swear. I feel terrible. Yao Qingyun was completely bewildered. In order to stop Yao Qingyun from making a fool of herself, Ning Fan held her smooth little hand tightly and transferred the power of the yin-yang transformation into her body bit by bit to help her suppress her lust. Yao Qingyun's entire body leaned against Ning Fan's chest. Her head leaned weakly on Ning Fan's shoulder and her breath smelled like orchids. Gradually, her eyes regained their clarity. When she noticed her current posture, she really wished she could find a piece of tofu and knock her head against it to kill herself. Without any hesitation, Yao Qingyun quickly distanced herself from Ning Fan. When she recalled her embarrassing behavior and how she begged Ning Fan, she could not help but feel ashamed and indignant. She was a dignified person. Elder Qingyun, please help me cleanse my Tao heart. Ning Fan's calm voice brought Yao Qingyun back to her senses. Yao Qingyun was originally extremely ashamed and indignant. When she met Ning Fan's eyes which were as calm as still water, she was suddenly stunned. There was no mockery, hostility, or sarcasm in Ning Fan's eyes. In fact, there was even less vigilance compared to the past. There was only calmness. It was as if nothing had happened. If you dare to tell anyone about what happened just now, nothing happened just now. Ning Fan said calmly. Yes. Nothing happened just now. Don't worry. Since I've promised you, I will write off all the grudges in the past. In the future, I won't look for trouble with you anymore. Yao Qingyun finally calmed down and faced Ning Fan's palm again. This time, she transferred her magic power into Ning Fan's body to help him cleanse his Tao heart. Even though she had already suppressed her lust, she still felt her delicate body tremble when she touched Ning Fan's palm again. Then, her ears turned hot. Damn it! Could it be that my lust hasn't been completely suppressed? Yao Qingyun's brows knitted together. She felt uneasy no matter how she looked at Ning Fan naked again after the small incident. The cleansing lasted for 3 days and it went rather smoothly. If the previous incident is ignored, it could almost be considered as a perfect cleansing. Ning Fan could clearly feel that his Dao heart had become clearer after this cleansing. It was definitely not a lie that his chances of becoming an immortal had increased by 15%. Is it time for me to become an immortal? There are no more updates. Let's wash up and sleep. Chapter 745. After that bloody baptism in the blood pool, Yao Qingyun kept her promise and no longer sought trouble for Ning Fan in the future. After resting for 3 days in the disciples' residence, he went to the 12 pavilions. He spent 1 million Dao crystals in the teleportation pavilion and sent a voice transmission to the medicine sect. Then, he found a barren mountain on the Blood Sea Star and opened up a cave residence. O Yangwan and Harry Ball no longer stayed in the Yuanya world. Instead, they accompanied Ning Fan and stayed in the cave dwelling. In another month, O Yang Muan would be able to completely refine the longevity jade. At this moment, her white hair had turned back into a glossy jet black hair. Her smile did not diminish at all and it was as warm as the morning sun. She truly lived up to her reputation as the medicine sect's #1 beauty. For the entire month, Ning Fan stayed in the cave residence to accompany O Yang Muan in refining the longevity jade. After a month, O Yang Muan had completely refined the longevity jade. From then on, the problem of her natural medicinal body's lifespan was completely solved. A few days later, a wretched old man came to the Blood Sea Star nervously. When he saw that O Yang Muan had really refined the longevity jade, his eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Then, he was overjoyed. You really got the immortal jade from Sha Di. Amazing, amazing. Wei Wuji was so excited that he didn't know what to say. Ning Fan had obtained the longevity jade for O Yang Muan. At this moment, Wei Wuji felt that Ning Fan was pleasing to his eyes no matter how he looked at him. He already knew that Ning Fan would need a large amount of 1 million years old spiritual herbs to cultivate the 3 condensing flowers. As he was delighted, he directly gave Ning Fan 1,100 tufts of 1 million years old spiritual herbs and 40 life immortal Dao fruits. 100 million year old elixirs were worth close to 200 billion Dao crystals. 40 life immortal Dao fruits were also worth 70 to 80 billion Dao crystals. This was almost a third of the medicine sect's storage. Wei Wuji wanted to bring O Yang Muan back to the medicine sect, but O Yang Muan refused. Ning Fan is about to become an immortal. I want to accompany him to become an immortal first before returning to the medicine sect. O Yang Muan had just regained her new life. How could she bear to part with Ning Fan at this moment? With the power of the 7 Stars boat, Ning Fan opened the passage and crossed the Blood River, returning to the bloody slaughter world. The baptism had ended perfectly. O Yang Muan's hidden ailment had been resolved and the seed of the immortal soul grass was already in his hands. At this moment, Ning Fan could finally become an immortal with peace of mind. With Sha Di taking care of the blood world, it was the most suitable place for Ning Fan to attain immortality. Ning Fan and O Yang Muan entered the blood world while Wei Wuji stayed in the Blood Sea Star for the time being. After Ning Fan becomes an immortal, he would bring O Yang Muan back to the sect. It was not that he had a vicious nature and wanted to separate Ning Fan and O Yang Muan no matter what. It was just that O Yang Muan's body had been weak for too long. She needed to return to the medicine sect and use the sect's resources to nourish herself. Moreover, the extreme Dan sacred region would open in 80 years. Now that O Yang Muan had obtained the longevity jade, she had the qualifications to become an immortal and ascend to the Tao of alchemy. For her, the extreme Dan sacred region was a great opportunity that could not be missed. As O Yang Muan's master, Wei Wuji also wanted to bring O Yang Muan back to the sect as soon as possible to prepare for the trip to the extreme Dan sacred region. In a secret cave residence on the Blood Sea Star, Wei Wuji sighed with emotion. Let's wait in the Blood Sea Star. That Ning Fan will most likely become an immortal within 80 years. After little girl Nguyen is done sticking to him, I will bring her back to the medicine sect. Sigh. Old man Han, oh old man Han. I didn't expect that you would get such a good disciple after descending to the lower world despite having bad luck for your whole life. In the past, you and I made a bet on whether you could get a disciple and cure little girl Nguyen. I didn't expect that you would win the bet. As the ancient saying goes, a fool will gain something out of 1,000 losses. No matter how unlucky a person is, there will still be times when he or she gets lucky. Achu, the old devil who was happily planting a small dao fruit in the lower world, sneezed unexpectedly. Little May said that sneezing means that someone is thinking about me. Hee hee. I wonder who is the one who is thinking about me. Could it be little Ning? Speaking of which, little Ning has already left the lower world for tens of years. Now, he should be about to become an immortal. The bloody slaughtering world was a medium-sized world. It had a vast area with more than 100,000 countries. There were mortal countries and cultivation countries. The descendants of the bloody world, be it cultivators or mortals, were all the descendants of the Big Dipper. They didn't know their identity as the descendants of the Big Dipper. They also didn't know that there was another world outside the bloody slaughtering world called the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. Only cultivators who had cultivated to the void fragmentation realm would have the chance to know about the existence of the Eastern Heaven Immortal World and leave the bloody world to join the Slaughter Palace and become a killer of the Slaughter Palace. Among the 100,000 countries, there were only 40,000 cultivation countries and the rest were mortal countries. Among the 40,000 cultivation countries, there were only 2,000 void refinement realm cultivators and less than 100 void fragmentation realm cultivators. There were only 3 cultivation countries with life immortals. Among the 100,000 countries, there were only 7 life immortals and 1 ghost profound realm cultivator. These life immortals were the cultivators of the Slaughter Palace. They were responsible for mediating the conflicts between the 100,000 countries and maintaining the stability of the bloody world. What Shadi protected was the entire bloody world, not the people of a country or a city. Naturally, he didn't care about the disputes between the cultivation countries. The spiritual martial country was a low-level cultivation country located in the north of the bloody world. The strongest sect in the country was the spiritual martial sect. The sect master was a late gold core realm cultivator. The spiritual martial country was a cultivation country near the sea. There was a cultivation city in the country named Ji Willow City which was located at the border of the Jade Sea. Ji Willow City was a picturesque cultivation country. The city was brightly lit and the night was never lost. There was no day in the bloody world of slaughter. The time of a day was calculated according to the brightness of the Big Dipper constellation. This city was located near the sea. The soil was fertile and suitable for spiritual plants. The cultivators who lived in this city often built their own herb gardens to plant spiritual herbs. The quality of the spiritual herbs that grew up was quite high. The name of Ji Willow City came from an illusion. It was said that countless years ago, there was a young man who called himself Ju Men. He went into seclusion in this city to comprehend the Tao. He planted a willow tree seed in this city and comprehended the Tao in front of the tree seed. He dreamt for 10,000 years. When he cleared the confusion in his heart and opened his eyes, he suddenly realized that the willow tree seed that he planted in the past had already grown into a huge tree that covered the sky. As for him, he was no longer a young man. After he woke up from the dream, he was already an old man with white hair that reached the ground. How can humans endure such a thing? That person let out a long sigh and ascended to the sky. No one knew where he went. The cultivation base that he revealed when he ascended to the sky had shocked all the cultivators in the 100,000 countries. No one knew how strong that cultivator named Ju Men was. Ju Men. Could it be that the one who planted the willow tree in this city was the second generation killing emperor, Ju Men killing emperor? Outside Ji Willow City, a young man in white robes was looking at the picturesque cultivation city. His eyes fell on the towering willow tree in the city. His expression was filled with nostalgia. Beside the young man in white robes was a beautiful woman in green robes. She always had a warm smile on her face. In front of the young man and the woman, there were two cute little girls with red lips and white teeth. One of the little girls had a pure face and bright eyes. Her hair was black and shiny. She was wearing a pink little jacket. She seemed to be around 6 or 7 years old. However, her body carried a sense of dignity that could not be disrespected. Although she did not seem to have a trace of cultivation base, every move she made had the brute force to tear a void fragmentation realm cultivator into pieces. The other little girl was around 8 or 9 years old. She was wearing a black little dress. The style of the dress was very ancient and strange. It was the dress that only the priestesses of the ancient demon race would wear. Her long black hair reached her waist. Her eyes were purple. There was a mysterious purple-black rune on her glabella. It was only the size of a fingernail and it could seal her sea of consciousness. This group of people was none other than Ning Fan and his group who had just returned to the blood world. The young man in white robes was naturally Ning Fan. The woman in green robes was Ouyang Muan. The little girl with brute force was Mu Weiliang. As for the purple-eyed girl in black robes who was dressed like a young priestess, she was Zili. Her appearance was exactly what Zili looked like after she transformed. At first, Ning Fan did not know that Zili had gained the ability to transform after breaking through to the early Ghost Profound realm. When he entered the blood world and let Mu Weiliang out, he realized that Zili could already transform. At that time, Mu Weiliang held Zili's hand and appeared in front of Ning Fan together. Ning Fan was stunned. When Zili timidly called out, "Master," Ning Fan was shocked to realize that this little girl was actually Zili. The rune on Zili's glabella was the Sin Seal of the Fu Li clan. This Sin Seal had the ability to seal things. Besides, it was also sealed by words. The seal prevented Zili from revealing any information about the Fu Li clan. Zili, who was in her human form, could speak and communicate with Ning Fan. However, as long as Ning Fan asked about the Fu Li clan, the Sin Seal on Zili's glabella would light up, preventing her from revealing any secrets about the Fu Li clan. Even though Ning Fan possessed the ancestral blood of the Fu Li clan, he did not have the method to remove the Sin Seal. He could not help Zili remove the Sin Seal and he could not get any information about the Fu Li clan from Zili. All information was sealed by the Sin Seal. Zili's personality was like a blank piece of paper. She did not have any common sense in life and she only knew how to fight and kill. This made Ning Fan very curious. What kind of grave mistake did this little girl commit in the past that she was actually stripped of her Fu Li bloodline and was demoted to a Sin Li clan? Mu Weiliang was reborn and her memories were all gone. Her originally innocent personality was also like a blank piece of paper. Thus, when Zili completed her transformation in the Cauldron world and met Mu Weiliang by chance, the two of them instantly became companions. Thus, when Mu Weiliang was summoned out of the Cauldron world by Ning Fan, Zili also followed her. Let's comprehend the Tao and become an immortal in this planting willow city. As soon as Ning Fan finished speaking, he brought the three ladies into the city. Thus, on this day, a small house that had been abandoned for a long time in the south of the city was bought by a cultivator with the surname Ning for 100 immortal jade. Ning Fan, Ouyang Muan, Mu Weiliang and Zili officially moved into the planting willow city. Ouyang Muan brought the two little girls to have fun in the city. As for Ning Fan, he stayed in the backyard for the entire morning and was busy cultivating the medicinal garden. With Ouyang Muan, Mu Weiliang and Zili's strength, they would not face any danger when they travel across 100,000 countries. Thus, Ning Fan naturally did not need to worry about their safety. The reason why he opened up the medicinal garden was to plant the immortal soul grass in this place and use it to nourish Mu Weiliang's soul. This was the reason why he first came to the Eastern Heaven. He had never forgotten it. After cultivating the first medicinal garden, Ning Fan planted the immortal soul grass using the secret technique recorded in the spiritual plant scripture. After that, he casually opened up another large nursery beside the medicinal garden. With a thought in his mind, he casually scattered handfuls of the 5 grain seeds in the nursery. Planting the 5 grains in the mortal world was just to brew wine with the 5 grains. Ning Fan liked wine, especially mortal wine. He preferred the mortal wine that he brewed himself. Spiritual wine could improve one's cultivation base and magic power while mortal wine could not. However, in comparison, Ning Fan felt that mortal wine was closer to the Tao. Dong dong dong, the sound of knocking was mixed with magic power, spreading across the entire courtyard. Ning Fan was squatting down to pull out the weeds in the nursery. When he heard the knocking on the door, his eyes flashed with surprise. When he opened the door, he saw 17 to 18 young men standing outside the house. Most of them were 11 or 12 years old. The leader was a 15-year-old young man in black robes. These young men were all descendants of the Northern Dipper realm. Each of their eyes was as bright as the stars. These young men were at least at the first or second level of the vein-opening realm. The young man in black robes who was the leader had the highest cultivation base at the 9th level of the vein-opening realm. "What's the matter?" Ning Fan asked indifferently. "Little brother, is this your first day in planting Willow City? Don't you know who we are? What are we here for?" The voice of the young man in black robes was still immature, but his tone was fierce like a hooligan. "I don't know. If there's nothing else, you guys can leave now." Ning Fan's tone was still indifferent. "Leave? You want us to leave without paying the protection fee?" The black-robed youth snorted coldly and drew his saber. Then, with a swoosh sound, the rest of the youths drew out their blades at the same time. It seemed like they were going to attack Ning Fan without saying a word. Ning Fan shook his head. These blades were all magic treasures. Unfortunately, their grades were too low. Even if he just stood there and let them slash at him, they would not be able to hurt him at all. "Little brother, although you're a few years older than me, your cultivation doesn't seem to be as high as mine. If we were to fight, I'm afraid you'll be at a disadvantage. I advise you to take out some immortal jades to save your life. Otherwise..." The black-robed youngster was organizing his words to threaten Ning Fan. Suddenly, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He did not exude any pressure, and he did not even use any baleful aura. With just one look, the black-clothed youth, who had been in the underworld for a long time, had a bad feeling. It was as if he wasn't facing a human, but a primordial beast. The black-robed youngster couldn't see through Ning Fan's cultivation. He thought that Ning Fan's buying such a shabby house was most likely a vein-opening cultivator. Who would have thought that Ning Fan actually had such a terrifying look in his eyes? Ning Fan's cultivation base was definitely much more terrifying than what he had imagined. "Hurry up and leave. I'll stay and stop him." The black-robed youngster's heart was filled with fear, but he gritted his teeth and endured the fear. He waved his hand at his underlings behind him, ordering them to retreat. He strode forward, withstood the fear, and held the saber with both hands. He pretended to be calm while looking at Ning Fan's. "The one who offended you is me, let them go." He knew that he had collected protection fees from the wrong person. Today's matter wouldn't end well. The only thing he could do was to use his own life to exchange for the escape of his underlings. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He actually saw the shadow of his younger self in this black-robed youngster. That year, as the elder brother, he also stood in front of Ninggu time and time again, shielding him from danger, allowing Ninggu to escape. Thinking about it, he found it funny. He was a famous devil lord in the eastern sky, but he was actually being collected protection fees by a group of brats who hadn't even grown up yet. When he killed people and robbed their belongings, he didn't even know where these brats were. "You guys go. This is the only time, there won't be a next time. Bang, Ning Fan's closed the door. He really didn't have the mood to care about this group of juniors. After Ning Fan's closed the door, the black-robed youngster's knees suddenly went soft. He fell to the ground and said while shivering. This person's eyes are so scary. Even the demonic beasts in the blue sea don't have such scary eyes. The group of underlings were quite loyal and didn't leave the black-robed youngster alone. Seeing their big brother fall, they immediately came over to support him. All of them had an expression of lingering fear. Big brother, what is that person's cultivation? Why are his eyes so fierce? A little brother asked. At least harmonious spirit. No. At least gold core. The black-robed youngster said with certainty. What? Gold core old devil. Could this person be the legendary gold core old devil? Oh my god. We actually collected protection fees from a gold core old devil, this is simply courting death. The group of youngsters were shocked. The group of youngsters finally left with their tails between their legs. The sky gradually darkened. Oh Yun-Wan came back with the two little girls. Mu Weiliang and Zili both looked like they had eaten and drank to their heart's content. According to Oh Yun-Wan, these two little girls got bored of playing in the city, so they went to the depths of the blue sea and hunted many demonic beasts to fill their stomachs. Sister Nguyen, I'm sleepy. Mu Weiliang rubbed her eyes and yawned. Mistress, sleepy. Zili was so tired that she couldn't even open her eyes. Oh Yun-Wan shook her head helplessly. She hugged little Furball and coaxed the two little girls to sleep. The three girls had already gone to bed. Ning Fan sat alone in the courtyard, on the grass in the courtyard. Looking at the eternal darkness of the blood world, looking at the Big Dipper stars in the night sky, looking at the cattail grass in the courtyard, his heart had never felt so peaceful before. For the next few decades, he would spend his time in this night world. My Tao of life and death hasn't reached perfection. Life and death can't be comprehended in a day. Ning Fan's mind moved. He suddenly plucked some cattail grass from the ground and recalled the grass hoop that Zido weaved during the life and death tribulation. Let's comprehend the grand Tao from this grass hoop. The first grass hoop suddenly burned to ashes when it was about to be weaved successfully. The second grass hoop also burned to ashes when it was almost finished. The third grass hoop, the fourth grass hoop, the fifth grass hoop. The first half of the night passed in a flash. Ning Fan had plucked all the cattail grass in the courtyard. He had tried countless times, but failed to weave the grass hoop. All that was left was ashes on the ground. There seems to be something missing in this grass hoop. That's why I can't weave it. In the latter half of the night, Ning Fan gradually fell into a long period of silence. Chapter 746. Time flowed like water. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. For the past month, Ouyang Nguyen brought the two little girls out to play every day. They would only return at night. The two girls had playful personalities, and Furball was also someone who could not sit still, but Ouyang Nguyen was not. She just didn't want to stay at home and disturb Ning Fan's enlightenment. For a whole month, Ning Fan stood in the courtyard with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were staring blankly at the ashes on the ground. Compared to a month ago, his puzzlement had increased. I don't understand. After letting out a long sigh, Ning Fan flicked his sleeves and blew away the ashes on the ground. After thinking for a while, he pushed the door open and went out. There was no day in the blood world, only night. The lights in the Willow Tree City were always lit. Lanterns were lit outside every house. It was the first time he went out of his house in the past month. It was the first time he calmed down to see the difference in Willow Tree City. Willow Tree City was different. The people were different and the cultivation atmosphere was also different. It was completely different from the murderous and cold-blooded cultivation world in the outside world. Occasionally, mortals would come to this city and sell all kinds of things on the long street. Fruits, jewelry, snacks, paper kites and even sugar figurines. Cultivators didn't just pursue cultivation. They would also travel to relax and buy those useless things from mortals. A few vain opening realm cultivators were sitting at a noodle stall on the street. They were eating hot plain noodles and talking about their harvest from hunting ferocious beasts in the blue sea. Pairs of vain opening realm Tao companions held each other's hands in the darkness of the night. They were deeply affectionate as they stayed together in the darkness. A harmonious spirit middle-aged man was holding a cute little boy in his arms. Beside him was a sweet-tempered woman. They were standing in front of a sugar figurine stall, patiently waiting for the mortal in front of them to make a sugar figurine. You're not allowed to cry when you have sugar figurines. Do you understand? The middle-aged man rubbed his stubbled face against the boy's face. His eyes were filled with love. I promise I won't cry anymore. Xiao Shan will obediently go home with father and mother. Xiao Tong vowed solemnly. Go home, go home, go home. Ning Fan's cold and barren heart was suddenly touched. To cultivators, home was a luxury. Home. Cultivators could travel the world but they also had no home. Wherever they went was home. The cultivators of the 4 skies and 9 worlds had no home, but the cultivators of the Big Dipper blood world did. This was the home of the Big Dipper descendants. The atmosphere here was really good. Ning Fan looked at the little boy enviously and gave him a rare knowing smile. This smile wasn't a pretense. After laughing for a while, Ning Fan revealed a surprised expression. After 7 emotions extinguishing, this was the first time he laughed from the bottom of his heart. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the Big Dipper in the night sky. He seemed to have understood something, but he couldn't quite put it into words. The Northern Dipper blood realm was fundamentally different from the Eastern Heaven immortal world. Because of that difference, Ning Fan could still smile. In this place, the 7 emotions that he should have destroyed were being reconstructed bit by bit. Although there was daylight in the 4 heavens, the world was too dark. There was only darkness in the blood world, but the warmth of humanity. Home was where one could feel at ease. Home, it was no wonder that Moana, the 3 women, and 1 beast liked planting Willow City and the Big Dipper blood world. They were so happy here that they forgot about home. The Big Dipper blood domain was indeed a good place. Ning Fan walked across the long street. He walked through the misty night sky and the lights of thousands of households. Lanterns were hung outside each of the houses. Within the light of the lanterns, there was longing. Mothers longed for their children, wives longed for their husbands and children longed for their fathers. Home, the lights of thousands of households entered Ning Fan's eyes. Gradually, his eyes were filled with some indescribable and indescribable emotions. Unknowingly, he had already arrived at the inner city of Planting Willow City. In this place, there was a towering giant willow that had existed since ancient times. According to Ning Fan's guess, it was a willow that was left behind by the Slaughter Emperor of the Giant Gate to gain enlightenment. This giant willow contained an obscure great Tao of life and death, which made Ning Fan's eyes flicker. However, the significance of this willow to Planting Willow City was not to gain enlightenment but to make a wish. There were temples built near the giant willow. Outside the temples, there were many tourists making vows in front of the giant willow. There were also beautiful ladies burning incense and praying in front of the giant willow. Beside the giant willow, there were 17 to 18 stalls. The owners of the stalls were all cultivators. They were helping the tourists to ask for and interpret the fortune sticks. Ning Fan's eyes swept across the stalls. Each of them had different levels of heavenly power. Even though they were not strong, it also showed that these stall owners were not trying to cheat people of their money. Instead, they were truly capable. Little brother, do you want to ask for a fortune stick? I'm the strongest expert in the Tao of divination in this city. I'm the best at interpreting the fortune sticks of others, especially the fortune sticks of marriage, fortune sticks and fate sticks. People call me Yu San Ju. 10 immortal jades for one stick and the first one is free. Hee hee. It's not expensive at all. An old man wearing yellow Taoist robes saw Ning Fan's gaze and thought that there was business at his door. Immediately, he walked over with a smile and boasted about his business. Even though his appearance was a little wretched, his heavenly power was indeed the strongest in this place. His cultivation base was also not weak. He was at the 8th level of the vein opening realm. 10 immortal jades for one stick was not expensive. Ning Fan casually took out 20 immortal jades and handed them to Yu San Ju. 20 immortal jades were enough for him to ask for 3 sticks. After all, the first one was free. After receiving the money, the yellow-robed old man's smile became even more wretched. He brought Ning Fan to the front of the stall and handed one of the 3 pots to Ning Fan. The first lot is the fortune stick of marriage. Little brother, please ask for a stick. I will certainly interpret the fortune stick for you. The yellow-robed old man couldn't see through Ning Fan's strength. He only thought that Ning Fan was an ordinary vein-opening cultivator in the city. Ning Fan nodded and was about to shake the pot. Suddenly, a group of young men aggressively walked towards the stall. This group of young men were the ones who had provoked Ning Fan before. The black-robed young man's expression was full of anger. His voice was heard before he came close. Yu San Ju. What kind of bullshit fortune stick did you interpret for me? 10 days ago, you said that I was lucky and had a great opportunity. I brought people to the Blue Sea to seek for opportunities and almost died there. What bullshit opportunity? Give me back the money I paid for interpreting the fortune stick. Yu San Ju's expression immediately changed when he saw this group of aggressive young men. He looked a little flustered and was about to pack up his stall and run away. Want to run? The black-robed young man sneered and waved his hand. The young men behind him drew out their blades and quickly surrounded the stall. Yu San Ju smiled bitterly and ran to the black-robed young man. Second Master Ren, please don't be angry. The matter of asking for the fortune stick is sometimes accurate and sometimes not accurate. Cough cough, you can't blame me for not interpreting the fortune stick well. Humph, you still want to quibble? You are. The black-robed young man sneered. He was about to teach Yu Sanzi a lesson when he suddenly noticed Ning Fan's in front of the stall. His originally arrogant expression was now filled with reverence. Yu Santai was taken aback. In his impression, the black-robed youngster was the tyrant of Ji Willow City. He had once injured an early harmonious spirit expert with his 9th-level vein-opening cultivation. In this planting Willow City where harmonious spirit was respected, almost no vein-opening expert dared to provoke the black-robed youngster. Moreover, the black-robed youngster was extremely arrogant and despotic on normal days. Even if he met a harmonious spirit old monster, he would not show any kind face. However, at this moment, the black-robed youth was looking at Ning Fan with deep respect. Yu Santai did not dare to imagine what cultivation-based Ning Fan had exactly to be able to make the black-robed young man reveal a look of respect. Late Harmonious Spirit Realm. Peak Harmonious Spirit Realm. And it was the legendary Golden Elixir Realm. I'm asking for a fortune stick. I don't want anyone to disturb me. Ning Fan looked at the black-robed youth and said indifferently. Understood. Little ones, put away your blades and guard the stall. No one is allowed to disturb Big Brother. The black-robed youngster ordered. The group of youths immediately put away their blades and stood at the side respectfully. No one dared to disturb him. The black-robed youngster gave Yu Santai a threatening stare and said coldly, explain the lot for my big brother properly. If you don't do it well, I will cut you into pieces. Big brother? This little brother, no, this master is actually your big brother. All of a sudden, Yu Santai was deeply convinced that Ning Fan was definitely a gold core expert. There was once a peak harmonious spirit expert who went to look for the black-robed youngster and wanted to take him as his little brother. However, he was rejected by the youngster. The black-robed youngster was too arrogant. He did not even want to acknowledge a peak harmonious spirit expert as his big brother. Instead, he acknowledged Ning Fan as his big brother. This meant that Ning Fan was stronger than a peak harmonious spirit expert. If he was stronger than a peak harmonious spirit expert, what else could he be other than a gold core old monster? When Yu Santai thought that he was about to explain the lot for a gold core old monster, his palms could not help but sweat. This is troublesome. If I don't do it well, will I be killed by Ning Fan? Ning Fan slightly frowned. He did not know when he became the big brother of this black-robed youngster. Ignoring the black-robed youngster, Ning Fan closed his eyes and shook the lot pot. After a few breaths, he shook the lot. Yu Santai's hands trembled as he picked up the bamboo lot. There was only a row of strange runes on the bamboo lot. There were no words, which was different from the lot of mortals. After glancing at the content of the bamboo lot, Yu Santai closed his eyes and pinched his fingers to calculate. Suddenly, he picked up a red brush and wrote a poem on a piece of yellow paper. At this moment, he was immersed in the power of heaven's mystery. He had no idea what he was writing. When he opened his eyes and saw what he had written, his face immediately turned ugly and his shivering became even more intense. 1,000 years of loneliness, a lifetime of love. I can't bear to see the fallen red crushed into dust. Beauties are as numerous as the clouds. Half a bosom friend and the other half an enemy. How do I explain this lot? Ning Fan asked indifferently. This lot. Yu Santai did not know what to say. Big brother asked you to explain the lot, so hurry up and explain it. If you delay any longer, I will immediately cut you into a human stick. The black-robed youngster said coldly. Cough, I will explain it. I will explain it. This lot is considered to be the worst lot among the marriage lots. Judging from the lot, I'm afraid this old man will have to go through a long period of loneliness before he can get a lifetime of love. Besides, this old man has more than one woman. I'm afraid he has many women. Unfortunately, among these women, some are bosom friends and some are formidable enemies. In short, his marriage is full of ups and downs. Yu Santai said with a trembling voice. Nonsense. My big brother is like a banished immortal. How can his marriage lot be the worst lot? The black-robed youngster glared at Yu Santai angrily. Ning Fan, on the other hand, looked at Yu Santai with slight surprise. He thought that this person's divination was very accurate. Speaking of which, although he had many beauties around him, many of them had turned from enemies to bosom friends. Not bad. Ning Fan's indifferent voice was like the sound of nature. It made Yu Santai's face filled with joy. What he was most afraid of was Ning Fan being dissatisfied with the divination. Now, it seemed like Ning Fan was very satisfied with the result. After hearing Ning Fan's words, the black-robed youngster naturally suppressed all of his anger and did not continue to make things difficult for Yu Santai. It was good that Ning Fan was satisfied. Ning Fan was his big brother. Since his big brother was satisfied, he naturally would not have any dissatisfaction. After the first lot was done, Yu Santai passed the second pot to Ning Fan. This lot was to ask for good luck. Ning Fan shook out the first lot. Yu Santai pinched his fingers and calculated again. Then, he waved his brush and wrote a poem on the yellow paper. At first, it was like the purple sun reflecting its rays. Then, it was dyed with filthy and fallen black light. It's too common for one to die a miserable death. Putting down the brush, Yu Santai opened his eyes. When he saw what he wrote, he was so frightened that cold sweat broke out. Great misfortune. Great misfortune. This lot is even worse than the worst lot. How can I divination it without angering Ning Fan? Just tell me the truth. I won't do anything to you. Ning Fan saw through Yu Santi's panic and said indifferently. Yes. This lot is the great misfortune lot. Judging from the lot, you were supposed to have great fortune and boundless good fortune. However, because of some reasons, your fortune changed and you lost all your good fortune. Now, you're surrounded by bad luck. From now on, you're not fated to have any good fortune. You have to be careful when you go out. If you're not careful, you'll be killed by others and die a miserable death because of your bad luck. Yu Santai gritted his teeth and explained honestly. Nonsense. How dare you curse my big brother to die a miserable death? The black-robed young man was furious. Ning Fan, however, waved his hand and nodded with satisfaction. Accurate. It's really accurate. This Yu Santai could actually predict that his purple luck would turn black. Unfortunately, this Yu Santai was destined not to be able to predict that his black luck would turn purple. It was normal that he could not predict it. If this Yu Santai could predict the change of his luck, Ning Fan would be worried instead. So, the next lot is about my fate. Ning Fan picked up the third pot and shook out a lot. Then, he passed it to Yu Santai to solve it. Yu Santai pinched his fingers and calculated. Then, he closed his eyes and waved his brush, producing the third lot. When he opened his eyes and saw what he wrote, his face turned pale with fright. The first lot was the worst lot. The second lot was extremely inauspicious. As for the third lot, it was actually the lot of Azura. This lot could not be any more inauspicious. Slay all the immortals and become devils. Slay all the devils and slay Azura. It's hard to obtain the true Tao fruit in the sea of blood. So what if the Tao is destroyed after attaining it? This lot. There's no need to solve this lot. I can understand it. Ning Fan put down the pot and turned to leave. In his life, he had spent most of his time slaughtering endlessly. In order to protect the obsession in his heart, he had already been stained with blood and sinned deeply. But so what? He could not avoid this path. He could not hide from it. While walking under the starry sky of the Big Dipper, Ning Fan's thoughts gradually drifted away. During the tribulation of life and death, he had heard about the story of immortal sovereign Zi Do killing immortal sovereign Zi Wei and immortal sovereign Bei Do. In the past, when immortal sovereign Zi Do destroyed the Zi Wei and Bei Do immortal domain, the crimes he committed were definitely not trivial. After the massacre in the Sea of Blood, the Zi Do immortal domain became peaceful and prosperous. Zi Do gifted the world a peaceful and prosperous era with his sins. It was hard to judge Zi Do's merits and demerits. However, Ning Fan understood that he was not as good as Zi Do. Throughout his journey, all he thought about was to protect his loved ones with his sins. He did not have such a big dream to protect the world. In fact, he was not as persistent as the previous Shah Di who was willing to give up everything to protect the blood world. He had always been selfish. He could never be selfless. However, at this moment, he had an urge to turn the chaotic 4 heavens and 9 worlds into a peaceful place like the Northern Dipper blood world. He wanted to let the people he loved live in the cultivation world without any worries. They did not need to worry about being murdered or assassinated. They just needed to live a normal life like a mortal. Was this a kind of dream? Creating a peaceful and prosperous era to let the people he loved be happy. Was this considered a kind of dream? Dream, immortal sovereign Zi Do's words seemed to be echoing in his ears. Do you have any dreams in your heart? When I was your age, I was just a demon devil who killed without restraint. One day, you will have your own opinion about the cultivation world. In a daze, Ning Fan seemed to hear another voice in his ears. That voice came from the giant willow. No living beings could hear it except for Ning Fan. It was the voice of the great Tao. It was the voice of the great Tao left by the person who comprehended the Tao under the giant willow. The night was dim. Ning Fan had already walked very far away. Suddenly, he looked back and saw the giant willow that towered into the sky. There was once a young man who called himself Ju Men. He planted the willow seed and comprehended the Tao before planting it. On the day he attained the Tao, 10,000 years had passed. The willow seed in the past had already turned into a towering tree. He lamented the passing of time under the tree. He lamented the fact that the tree was like this. How could humans endure it? No one knew that when the Shadi of Ju Men was on his deathbed, he also quietly passed away under the giant willow. He entrusted everything to the third-generation young emperor. He sat alone under the giant willow and looked at it. He looked at the blue sea that was like the tide in the past and the green mountains that were immersed in the eternal night. He did not feel dejected like he had passed away. Instead, he was filled with pride. There was a second sentence he said, but no one heard it. That voice turned into a sentence of Tao that existed in the giant willow for eternity. The green mountains are still the same, but my hair has turned white. Time really doesn't spare anyone. However, a man can grow old and his strength can decline, but his heart can never die and his ideals can never be extinguished. Even though my body is dead and my Tao is extinguished, my ideals will live forever with the Big Dipper star. The sentence of Tao entered Ning Fan's ears. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the Big Dipper star that filled the sky. He remained silent for a long time. At this moment, his Tao had a sublimation. It had a qualitative change and there were signs of it becoming solid. At this moment, Ning Fan's expression was solemn. He cupped his fists and bowed to the Big Dipper star. This bow was filled with respect and admiration. What he admired was the persistence of the Shadi of Ju Men which existed in the giant willow forever. He finally understood how to attain the Tao. His Tao could be verified with countless things in the world. Mountains, rivers, plants and trees all had their own persistence. All living beings in the world had their own persistence. The Shadi of Ju Men had his own persistence. Immortal Sovereign Zido had his own persistence. Persistence was a Tao that transcended life and death. It would not disappear with death. Ning Fan was a butterfly in his previous life. Even though his body had turned into ashes, his persistence had yet to dissipate. From the past to the present, his protective heart had never changed. Persistence could transcend life and death as well as the cycle of samsara. If one is obsessed with emotions, even if the 7 emotions are extinguished, they can still talk and smile. If one is obsessed with a thought, even if one's Tao disappears, even if one's body dies and the cycle of samsara is annihilated, this thought would never disappear. After a long time, Ning Fan's eyes gradually became clear. He turned around and returned to his residence. Outside the main entrance, 2 lanterns were hung high and lit. This was the home of him, Muan Er, Weiyang and Zili. By lighting the lanterns, it could illuminate their way home. Time passed day by day. 1 year passed quickly. The immortal soul grass had yet to grow, but the 5 grains were already plentiful and could already be used to brew wine. The cattail grass in the courtyard had also grown again. One day, a stall for divination appeared outside the temples in the inner city. The owner of the stall was Ning Fan. He only solved one type of divination. Divination of life and death. Bundles of cattail grass were placed beside his feet. Every time he solved the divination of a person, he would weave a grass ring. He wanted to weave the life and death of others into the grass ring. For 7 consecutive days, no one came to Ning Fan to solve the divination. On the 8th day, the black-robed young man brought a group of people and a pitiful middle-aged scholar to Ning Fan to solve the divination. Big brother. I heard that you set up a stall here. Coincidentally, I have a friend who wants to find someone to calculate the divination of life and death. Big brother, please help him. The black-robed young man's expression was respectful while the middle-aged scholar who was brought here complained incessantly. He did not know the black-robed young man at all. Since when did he become his friend? He was just a vein-opening cultivator who had just entered Willow City. As soon as he entered the city, he was brought here by the black-robed young man to solve the divination. He was just a spiritual plant farmer who planted spiritual herbs for a living. He did not go to dangerous places to seek for treasures or opportunities. Why would he need to calculate the divination of life and death? But now, the black-robed young man was forcing him to ask for the divination. He did not dare to refuse. "May I know how much will you charge for solving the divination of life and death?" The middle-aged scholar smiled bitterly. "For a vein-opening cultivator, 1 divination lot in 10 immortal jades." Ning Fan said indifferently. 10 immortal jades, that's not too expensive. The middle-aged scholar heaved a sigh of relief. "I'll just spend 10 immortal jades to get rid of this calamity." After paying 10 immortal jades, the middle-aged scholar took the lot container and shook it. He shook out a lot, but there was nothing on it. There were no words at all. Empty lots. The middle-aged scholar was stunned and looked at the lot pot. All the lots were blank. He felt that he had been cheated. There were no runes on the blank lot, so how could he make a divination? How could he interpret the lots? What he didn't know was that all the empty lots were specially made by Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not know how to perform divination or interpret the divination stick. However, he knew how to observe the life and death of others. This secret bamboo lot also had the ability to observe the life and death of a person. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with the Tao light of life and death. That day, when he participated in the dragon fishing convention in the monster realm, he used the Tao of life and death to observe others' life and death, which shocked countless experts. Now, he was able to freely utilize the life and death Tao light to observe the life and death of others. Currently, he could only see the life and death of harmonious spirit experts. This middle-aged scholar was at the vein-opening realm. Ning Fan could naturally see through his life and death. 10 days later, you will die in your house. The cause of death is due to being plucked. Ning Fan said indifferently. Ha! How laughable. I have never been close to women, so how could I be plucked to death? Moreover, my Lingwu country has a good atmosphere, and there has never been a flower-plucking devil. Who would want to pluck me? The middle-aged scholar looked at Ning Fan disdainfully, thinking that Ning Fan was talking nonsense. The black-clothed youth was enraged. How could he tolerate his big brother being looked down upon? That was the big brother he recognized, the big brother who could paralyze him with just a look. Even when he was facing a peak harmonious spirit old monster, he had never been frightened. Ning Fan being able to frighten him proved that he was not an ordinary person. There must be a reason why he said that the middle-aged scholar would die. Just as he was about to teach the middle-aged scholar a lesson, Ning Fan waved his hand and said. Renli, stop. I have already explained life and death to him, but since he refused to listen, he should die. Even if he dies, he can't blame anyone else. Renli was the name of the youth in black. After staying in this place for a year, he was already familiar with the black-robed young man. Even though this young man had the temperament of a ruffian, he was not an evil person. He had heard this young man calling him Big Brother many times, so he no longer paid attention to him. Hearing Ning Fan telling him to stop, even though Renli was dissatisfied with the middle-aged scholar, he did not dare to teach him a lesson. He did not listen to anyone but Ning Fan's words and treated them as his orders. The middle-aged scholar knew that he could not afford to offend the black-robed youth and the others. Even though he was dissatisfied with Ning Fan for deceiving them of their money, he did not dare to cause any trouble and left with his tail between his legs. Many cultivators at the side had witnessed the process of Ning Fan deciphering the lots with their own eyes. All of them had the same opinion as the middle-aged scholar, thinking that Ning Fan was deceiving them of their money. Only Yu Santi's eyes were solemn. He could vaguely tell that Ning Fan's method of deciphering the lots was extraordinary. Ning Fan's method of deciphering the lots was not based on the power of heaven's mystery but a great divine ability which Yu Santi could not understand. Perhaps, that middle-aged scholar will really die. Yu Santi pondered. 10 days later, a shocking news spread across Willow Planting City. A middle-aged scholar died tragically in his house. The cause of his death was that he was plucked by someone and the culprit was a grass demon. That middle-aged scholar was the person who had sought Ning Fan to decipher the lots. That grass demon was transformed from the spiritual herbs that he planted. The news that the grass demon was killed by the experts of Willow Planting City and Ning Fan's accuracy in deciphering the lots had spread across the entire city at an extremely fast speed. Gradually, many experts who went out to hunt beasts would come to Ning Fan to decipher a life and death lot before they went out. No one knew that on the day that the middle-aged scholar died, Ning Fan had woven the first grass bracelet. That grass bracelet contained the middle-aged scholar's life and death. Ning Fan opened his mouth and swallowed. The grass bracelet turned into a ray of light that was half black and half white and was swallowed into his stomach. As for the Tao mark of life and death in Ning Fan's primordial spirit, one more appeared the moment he swallowed the grass bracelet. Chapter 747. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Within these 10 years, Ning Fan had deciphered the lot 60,000 times. Every time he said something about life and death, it would happen without exception. Whether he could avoid the calamity of death or not would depend on the ability of the seeker. It was not something Ning Fan cared about. He just weaved the grass rings of life and death and devoured them. The number of Tao marks of life and death on his primordial spirit had already reached 3,800. He could already become an immortal. However, he had yet to break through the bottleneck of becoming an immortal. He just removed his stall and stayed at home to tend to the herb garden and nursery. Every day, he drank mortal wine brewed from 5 grains and tasted the Tao of wine. Every day, he would pluck some immortal soul grass and boil them for Mu Weiliang to consume. 10 years had passed. Ouyang Nuan's complexion had already recovered. Her cultivation base had also improved a lot. 10 years had passed. Harry Ball's cultivation base was already at the late nascent soul realm. 10 years had passed. Mu Weiliang already looked 8 or 9 years old. The immortal soul grass could really make her grow up. 10 years had passed. Zili had also grown a little taller. She looked about 10 years old now. The reason why Zili could grow up was that she often dived into the depths of the Jade Sea to hunt ferocious beasts for food. To cultivators, 10 years was a very short time. To mortals, it was a very long time. For the first time, Ning Fan felt that time passed very slowly. His current state of mind was like that of a mortal. He was already used to living in Willow City. Now, there was no one in the entire city who did not know the name half-immortal Ning. His life and death log would always hit the target. His 3 wives were either young or old. All of them had peerless beauty and lived in their rooms. Even though the 3 women were extremely beautiful, no one dared to have any ideas about them. There were a few harmonious spirit realm lechers who wanted to tease Ouyang Nuan and the other 3 women. However, they were easily defeated by Mu Weiliang and Zili. Rumors said that Ning Fan and his 3 wives were all gold core realm cultivators. Ning Fan no longer deciphered the lots. Occasionally, he would go to the giant willow tree to have a look and then return. He had comprehended life and death, but he had yet to achieve his Tao. Every day, he would be weaving rings at home. It was no longer the grass of life and death but the ring of obsession. Every day, Renli would send people to deliver large amounts of cattail grass for Ning Fan to weave rings. 10 years had passed. Renli was now an intermediate harmonious spirit young cultivator. He was one of the top figures in the entire Willow City. The number of his followers had already exceeded 100, and there were 2 harmonious spirit experts among them. He was already a prominent figure in Willow City. However, every time he saw Ning Fan, he would still respectfully call him Big Brother. It was said that the spirit martial sect leader had taken a fancy to Renli and wanted to accept him as his last disciple, but was rejected by Renli. The reason was that with Big Brother around, there would be a way to travel. His admiration for Ning Fan had already penetrated deep into his bones. 3 years ago, Renli ventured into the Blue Sea with an early harmonious spirit cultivation base to hunt devil beasts. He begged Ning Fan to solve a life and death lot for him. Ning Fan did not help him dispel the divination. Instead, he just gave him a grass bracelet. He was hunting beasts on the outskirts of the Jade Sea with the grass ring when he suddenly encountered a demonic wind that swept him into the depths of the Jade Sea. In the depths of the Blue Sea, there were countless ferocious beasts that were comparable to Golden Core realm cultivators. There were even nascent soul beasts and wild beasts. Renli was besieged by 17 Golden Core ferocious beasts and thought that he was going to die. At the critical moment, the grass bracelet suddenly flew out from his bosom and rose into the air. It turned into 17 fire rings and easily burned the 17 beasts to death. From that day onwards, Renli firmly believed that Ning Fan was a nascent soul realm expert who lived in seclusion. Only a nascent soul realm expert would have the strength to instantly kill 17 Gold Core realm ferocious beasts. Ning Fan had been weaving fire rings for a few years. Fire was the first Tao that he came into contact with. Transforming his sword into fire was his first trump card. The cattail grass in his hand quickly weaved into a fiery red grass ring. With a flick of his finger, the fire ring turned into a ray of fiery light and was swallowed into his stomach. After that, he picked up the cattail grass and continued to weave the next fire ring. 2 years later, he began to weave the soul remembrance grass ring. Another 2 years later, he began to weave the rain grass ring. Another 3 years later, he began to weave the mountain grass ring. Another 3 years later, he began to weave the Fuli grass ring. The grass rings that he weaved contained various kinds of divine abilities. These divine abilities were different from each other, but they had one thing in common. All of them were integrated with Ning Fan's Tao persistence. All of them existed for protection. It took him 5 years to weave and devour the Fuli grass ring. He had lived in Planting Willow City for 25 years. Mu Weiliang and Zili had already grown into young girls who were around 11 or 12 years old. As for Ouyang Nuan, she had quietly broken through to the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm during this year. This year, Renli reached the peak of harmonious spirit realm and became the lord of Planting Willow City. He used to be a local ruffian, but now he no longer had the slightest trace of a ruffian. He understood what responsibility was, and led a group of subordinates to maintain the stability of Planted Willow City. After weaving the Fuli grass ring, he also weaved the Devil Sifting grass ring and the Grand Simplicity grass ring. He wove the spirit servants into the rings and devoured them one by one. His Tao was becoming more and more solid, and he was not far from attaining Tao. 15 years passed in the blink of an eye. It had been 40 years since Ning Fan came to Planting Willow City. He finally stopped weaving grass rings. Other than drinking and brewing wine, he tended to the herb garden. 2/3 of the immortal soul grass had been used up and Mu Weiliang had already grown to the age of 13 or 14. Zili grew up a little slower, looking like she was only 13 years old. During this year, Ning Fan and Ouyang Nuan sat opposite each other and drank wine. After getting a little drunk, both of them rolled onto the bed. After a slight stab of pain, it was followed by a deep sense of pleasure. Harry Ball's father, you're a pervert. After the pleasure, Ouyang Nuan looked at the countless red marks on her body. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to dig a hole and bury herself. I can be even more perverted. Ning Fan did not hide the lust in his eyes. He turned around and suppressed it again. On the second day, Ouyang Nuan could not get off the bed. She could not bring little Harry Ball and the two little girls out to play. Little Harry Ball looked at Nuanyuan's mother, who was sleeping soundly on the bed with dissatisfaction. Its eyes were filled with resentment. She wanted to go out to play, but Nuanyuan's mother did not want to. She could not go out alone because Nuanyuan's mother did not allow it. Mu Weiliang and Zili quietly lifted a corner of Ouyangwan's brocade quilt. When they saw the red marks all over Ouyangwan's body, the two little girls blushed shamelessly. Zili was a member of the demon race. The cultivators of the demon race were very open-minded. Even a little girl could understand the meaning of these red marks. How could she not understand the mating between beasts? She was the dignified Nieli, a giant among demons. Mu Weiliang did not understand the meaning of the red marks, but she still blushed. Her originally blank memories suddenly became a little more. The extra memories were the night she had with Ning Fan when she was a female corpse, little ZZ, I think. I think I was also bitten by the little butterfly like this before. Mu Weiliang said with uncertainty. It's true. I'm so envious of you. You actually mated with Master before. Zili's small face was filled with envy. Forgive her for only knowing the meaning of the word mating. She was a demon. In her memory, this kind of behavior was called mating. It was very painful, even though I couldn't feel any pain at that time. Mu Weiliang said with a hint of sadness. I'm still so envious of you. I also want to mate with Master and give birth to a bunch of little Fu. Zili's face was still filled with envy. Before she could say the word Fu, the evil mark acted on its own, causing her to be unable to say the word. What are you envious of? Since you want to do that, I will bring you there. Let's go. Big Sister Liang will bring you to find the little butterfly and ask you to mate with her. Mu Weiliang held Zili's hand and walked towards the front yard. Ning Fan sat alone on a stone bench with a cup of wine in his hand. Under the night sky and the starlight, the petals on the tree fell with the wind. The scenery was very beautiful, but Ning Fan did not have the mood to appreciate it. He just quietly looked at the wine in his cup. He realized that until today, the wine that he personally brewed had gradually integrated a trace of Tao accumulation into it. That Tao accumulation was obsession. His Tao could already be brewed into wine. After finishing the wine in his cup in one gulp, the Tao accumulation in the wine melted in his mouth and turned into a hot stream. Ning Fan's magic power did not increase, but his Tao power became more solid. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Before he could swallow the wine, the two little girls had already run towards him. Mu Weiliang's words made Ning Fan choke on his saliva. Little butterfly. Little ZZ wants to mate with you. Quickly bite her and mate with her. Cough cough. Ning Fan choked on the wine and coughed to remember it. Only then did he manage to regulate his breath. Then, he looked at Mu Weiliang and Zili speechlessly. He had only heard of people begging for a relationship but never for mating. He reached out his hand and touched Mu Weiliang's forehead worriedly. He was afraid that this little girl was sick. That was why she was talking nonsense here. Don't touch me. I don't plan to mate with you for the time being. I haven't grown up yet. When Mu Weiliang recalled the erotic memories in her mind, her face flushed red. Mate. Who taught you this word? Ning Fan was speechless. Little ZZ. Mu Weiliang gave Zili up weakly. Master. Zili really wants to mate with you. My clan has been annihilated. If we mate with each other, we will definitely give birth to a lot of Fu. For the prosperity of my clan, we must mate. Zili vowed solemnly with a face full of expectation. Unfortunately, she could not say the word leave no matter what. Ning Fan reached out his hand again and touched Zili's forehead. He suspected that Zili had become stupid because of her illness. Why was she talking nonsense? In the end, Ning Fan did not mate with Zili naturally, he did not mate with Mu Weiliang either. He gave each of them a cup of wine and made them drunk. Then, he coaxed them to sleep. In the darkness of the night, Ning Fan was the only one who was comprehending the Tao under the Big Dipper. The little furball, on the other hand, wandered around the courtyard in boredom. Time flowed like water. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years had passed. The Tao essence of the wine that Ning Fan brewed became thicker and thicker. Gradually, the Tao essence had already fused with the wine and it was hard to sense it anymore. Ning Fan knew that at this moment, he had already achieved his Tao. He had entered the blood world once and coincidentally, he had delivered 30 liberation corpse pills to Ning Fan. Among the 30 pills, 17 of them had been tampered with. The rest of them were untouched. Ning Fan only kept 13 liberation corpse pills. He secretly destroyed the pills that had been tampered with, just like the 100 tufts of 1 million years old spiritual herbs in the past. It had been 50 years since he entered the blood world. 50 years of peace had made Ning Fan forget about killing. There was only the Tao in his heart. Life and death were already complete and he had achieved his Tao. What's left is to try his best to become an immortal. After consuming the body refinement pills one by one, Ning Fan's ancient devil cultivation base had already reached the peak of the revered devil realm. The strength of his physical body was comparable to that of an immortal body cultivator. After refining the 1 million years old spiritual herbs, the 8th petal of the 3 flowers bloomed. Half of the 9th petal had also turned leaden. The 3 flowers at one's prominence was enough to defend against an ordinary mid-ghost profound realm attack. All the immortal soul grass had been fed to Mu Weiliang. At this moment, she had already grown to look like a 15-year-old girl. Zili also looked like she was 14 years old. After 50 years of peace and enlightenment, Ning Fan officially went into seclusion and began to break through to the second step of Tao. The 3 ladies and 1 beast no longer went out. They stayed in the courtyard all day to protect Ning Fan. After consuming all the liberation corpse pills, Ning Fan's body began to decay bit by bit. Then, he consumed the immortal bestowal pill and displayed the flame-returning immortal cultivation technique that old devil taught him to increase his chances of becoming an immortal. When both his magic body and sense reached the peak of the first step, his chances of becoming an immortal would increase by 5%. The immortal bestowal pill could increase his chances by 5% while the flame-returning immortal cultivation technique could also increase his chances by 5%. When the Tao of life and death is attained to the perfection stage, it could increase his chances of becoming an immortal by 10%. When the Tao is upheld, it could increase his chances of becoming an immortal by 20%. When his magic power exceeded the upper limit by so much, it could at least increase his chances of becoming an immortal by 20%. The blood pond increased his chances by 15%. When he stripped the immortal seed in the past, it would decrease his chances by 5%. In total, Ning Fan had at least a 75% chance of breaking through the bottleneck of becoming an immortal in one go. Of course, if he uses the corpse devil body of the 3rd transformation realm and uses the power of the liberation corpse pill to achieve immortality, his chances of becoming an immortal would be even higher. The entire house was filled with the formation marks of the liberation corpse grand formation. Ning Fan's body decayed more and more but his chi became stronger and stronger. In his mind, he recalled the scenes of slaughter and the hardships he went through along the way. All the slaughters condensed in his heart bit by bit and eventually turned into the Tao in his heart. Stubbornness. His chi was still getting stronger. The breakthrough to the second step is imminent. Ning Fan's body was drenched in blood and his corpse was in a serious state. However, his eyes were as stubborn as a devil. He had absolute confidence that no one could stop him from attaining the second step within a month. Rumble, his stubbornness and his sense seemed to be resonating with the Big Dipper. A clap of thunder pierced through the night sky. Then, all 7 stars of the Big Dipper shone with starlight, enveloping the entire Willow City. The starlight turned into the shadow of a massive mountain that floated above the city. A strange phenomenon descended from the heavens. The strange phenomenon of the mountain spread across the entire blood world at a terrifying speed. At this moment, Shadi's eyes flashed with satisfaction in the broken army star palace. At this moment, the 8 life immortals of the blood world were shocked. At the same time, in a certain demon cave in the depths of the blue sea, the eyes of the 9 demon immortals who participated in the demon banquet were filled with shock. Then, greed filled their faces. The strange phenomenon of the Tao Mountain. In the 100,000 countries, another cultivator is going to ascend the Tao Mountain and break the life-breaking realm to become an immortal. Looking at the location of this strange phenomenon, the immortal seems to be very close to our blue sea. Kill this man and devour his shadow of the Tao Mountain. Our cultivation base will certainly improve greatly. Ha! Let's go. The 9 of us will attack together and kill this man. After that, we will divide his shadow of the Tao Mountain equally. The 9 demon immortals burst into laughter. Each of them displayed their abilities and flew out of the water. Stepping on the waves, they headed towards the Lingwu country. Among the 9 of them, there was an early Ghost Profound Realm cultivator while the other 8 were at the Human Profound Realm. When the 9 demon immortals were heading towards the Lingwu country, the 8 cultivators of the Slaughter Palace who were guarding the 100,000 countries also rushed towards the place in a frenzy. Shadi watched everything quietly. He did not have the intention to take action. He knew that the 9 demon immortals were not enough to stop Ning Fan from becoming an immortal. At this moment, the entire Willow City and even the Lingwu country were in shock. The overall strength of the cultivators of the Lingwu country was not strong. However, as cultivators of the blood world, none of them were fools. Everyone understood the meaning of the strange phenomenon of the Tao Mountain. The strange phenomenon of the Tao Mountain was the phenomenon of becoming an immortal. If a person ascends the Tao Mountain, he would be able to become an immortal. Everyone understood that there was an expert in the Lingwu country who was trying to break through the bottleneck of the immortal realm. No one knew who the old monster who broke through to the immortal realm was. Renli wore a black robe. His face was cold and stern. He stood in the sky and looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky. His eyes were filled with astonishment. City Lord, this strange phenomenon. Could it be the Tao Mountain phenomenon? In the Willow City, countless vein-opening realm cultivators raised their heads and asked. Yes. Is an immortal going to appear in our Lingwu country? I wonder which senior actually became an immortal in our Lingwu country. Countless cultivators exclaimed. I don't know. Maybe it is. Ren Li's eyes couldn't help but look towards the south of the city. He then shook his head and mocked himself. No, it shouldn't be Big Brother. Big Brother is indeed very strong, but he shouldn't be this strong. Before his voice faded, Ren Li's eyes suddenly changed. He looked at the direction of the blue sea in disbelief. On the surface of the blue sea, 9 extremely terrifying rays of light separated from the sea. The speed of the rays of light was beyond Ren Li's imagination. The 9 rays of light converged and turned into 9 ferocious demon immortals. The leader was a ghost mystic demon immortal with a black dragon head. Under the ferocious aura of the 9 demon immortals, all the harmonious spirit experts including Ren Li fell from the sky, unable to fly. Some of the cultivators who often went out to sea to hunt beasts recognized the origin of the 9 demon immortals. Black Dragon Head. He is the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch. The 8 demon immortals behind him are all ferocious beasts of the blue sea. I thought the ferocious beasts of the blue sea couldn't leave the blue sea without permission. Why did they suddenly appear in my Willow City? When the cultivators of Willow City were extremely nervous, another 8 rays of light arrived from afar. They were the figures of 8 blood-robed old men. The leading ghost mystic old man took a step forward and looked at the black dragon demon immortal coldly. Black Flame. Return to the blue sea in 10 breaths' time, and I will spare your life. Ha! Old Mo, don't be so arrogant. This heavenly monarch has recently obtained a treasure. With this treasure, you may not be my opponent. Quick! The black dragon demon immortal sneered and suddenly took out a golden bracelet. With a flash of golden light, the bracelet turned into 8 rays of golden light and shot towards the 8 blood-robed life immortals. Among the 8 of them, only the life immortal with the surname Mo was an early ghost mystic expert. The rest were human mystic experts. Seeing the fierce golden light, the life immortal with the surname Mo didn't dare to be careless. He took out a blood-red sword light and slashed at the golden light. The remaining 7 also took out their magical treasures and faced the golden light. The black dragon life immortal's eyes flashed with disdain. He changed his hand seals and chanted an incantation silently. The power of the golden light increased by 30% out of nowhere. After a few booming sounds, the magical treasures of the 8 blood-robed life immortals were all destroyed. The expressions of the life immortal with the surname Mo and the others changed drastically. The power of the black dragon life immortal's golden bracelet was really terrifying. Seeing that his attack was successful, the black dragon life immortal laughed heartily and took out the golden bracelet again. This time, the golden bracelet divided into 9 rays of golden light. 8 of them attacked the 8 blood-robed life immortals at the same time. As for the 9th ray of golden light, it went straight towards Ning Fan's mansion. He wanted to take advantage of the critical moment when Ning Fan was about to break through to the life immortal realm to kill him and devour his shadow of the Dao Mountain. Not good. The blood world has finally given birth to another life immortal realm. I can't let him die under the attack of this golden light. Just as the old man with the surname Mo was about to block the golden light, the 9 rays of golden light that the golden bracelet had transformed into suddenly shattered without any warning. Then, the baleful chi and blood-red light instantly swept across the entire Willow City. Within the blood-red light, a ray of fiery light suddenly flashed. At the next moment, a white-robed young man appeared out of nowhere at the peak of the Dao Mountain's shadow, which was completely empty in the night sky. The chi of that white-robed young man was gradually stabilizing at the early human profound realm. Even though his cultivation base was only at the early human profound realm, his magic power was comparable to the peak human profound realm. The white-robed young man raised his hand and took out a ball of milky white light. Then, he swallowed it in one go. With the aura force of the Dao Mountain, the young man only needed a moment to refine the white light ball, which would normally take him a few years to refine. At the next moment, the young man's chi skyrocketed. First, he broke through the mid-human profound realm and then the late-human profound realm. Finally, his cultivation base stopped at the peak human profound realm. Even though his cultivation base was at the peak human profound realm, his magic power was far stronger than cultivators at the same level as him. It was comparable to a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator. How dare you stop me from becoming an immortal? You're courting death. The white-robed young man's words were filled with terrifying killing intent, causing the expressions of the 9 demon immortals including the black dragon demon immortal to change drastically. Impossible. This person has clearly just broken through to the immortal realm. However, he broke through to the peak human profound realm in an instant with the help of the immense power of the Joss flames. Where did he get so much Joss flame power? Chapter 748. Ning Fan stood at the peak of the Dao Mountain. His body felt incomparably heavy as if the entire sky was pressing down on his shoulders. Ordinary cultivators needed to climb the Dao Mountain step by step, but he leaped to the top of the mountain. The pressure he endured from the peak of the Dao Mountain was 10 times that of an ordinary person. It was unimaginable. He wanted to use this pressure to refine the Yao family's Joss flames in an extremely short period of time. The Yao family's incense was ownerless, so even though the owner of the incense was of a high level, he could easily take it away. However, it was not something that could be done in a short period of time. An ordinary mysterious fate immortal would need at least a few hundred years to refine this much Joss flame power. If Ning Fan borrows the power of the profound Yin world to refine the Joss flames, he would also need a few years to refine all of them. At this moment, Ning Fan took advantage of the opportunity of ascending the immortal seat of the Tao Mountain. He borrowed the aura force of the Tao Mountain and forcefully refined the Joss flames within a short period of time. This kind of opportunity could only be encountered but not sought. Since he had encountered it, he did not mind using a trick to save a few years of time to refine the Joss flames. If he did not devour the power of incense, he would be at the early stage of the human mystic realm after he became an immortal, and his magic power would be comparable to the peak of the human mystic realm. After devouring an enormous amount of Joss flame power, Ning Fan advanced 3 levels consecutively in his cultivation base, leaped to the peak of the human profound realm. The upper limit of his magic power was far beyond that of cultivators of the same level. After his cultivation reached the peak of the human profound realm, his magic power was comparable to the middle stage of the ghost profound realm. He stood on the peak of the mountain of Tao. His aura was as heavy as a mountain, bringing a great pressure to the 17 life immortals. Among them, 8 of the blood-robed life immortals were cultivators of the Slaughter Palace. They were friends and not enemies. They were merely affected by Ning Fan's aura force. Thus, they did not feel too embarrassed. Heavenly Monarch Black Flame and the other 8 demon immortals had to bear most of the pressure from Ning Fan. Since they had ulterior motives, Ning Fan would naturally not show any mercy. Within that pressure, there was not only the pressure of dermic powers, but there was also the pressure of killing intent. At this moment, Ning Fan was standing on the Tao Mountain. That aura force vaguely contained Ning Fan's Tao power. Even an ordinary Duzhen would find it hard to bear such pressure, let alone Lord of Heaven He Yen and the others. Heavenly Lord of Black Flame couldn't believe what he was seeing. Ning Fan was clearly a cultivator who had just broken through to the immortal realm. His cultivation base had not even stabilized yet. How was it possible for him to break through to the peak human profound realm? Taking 10,000 steps back, even if Ning Fan had extraordinary talent and broke through to the peak human profound realm as soon as he became an immortal, he shouldn't have such a strong aura force. The pressure of a mid-stage ghost mystic realm expert was enough to make the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch and the others feel suffocated. Coupled with his ferocious aura, which was enough to deter ordinary Duzhen, it was enough to suffocate Lord of Heaven Black Flame and the others. Coupled with the pressure of the Great Tao, the 9 monster immortals, including Heavenly Monarch of Black Flame, were immediately injured. This kid has only just become an immortal, his aura shouldn't be this strong. How did he manage to injure me with just his aura? Just as the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch was deep in thought, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with blood-red light all of a sudden. In an instant, the Heavenly Monarch of Black Flames felt a sharp pain in his chest, as if he had been hit by a heavy punch. He hurriedly retreated a few steps in the sky before he could stabilize his body. He had actually been seriously injured. As for the 8 human profound demon immortals beside him, their eyes were bloodshot and their chi was in a mess. They had already been devoured by Ning Fan's baleful chi. Go. Leave quickly. This kid is definitely not simple. He is not an ordinary person. How can an ordinary person cultivate to the peak of the human profound realm in a single step? How can an ordinary person have such a terrifying aura? The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch gritted his teeth and gave the order to retreat without any hesitation. Originally, he came to this place with the intention of killing Ning Fan and snatching his Tao Mountain. However, he did not expect Ning Fan to be too stubborn, which made him feel uneasy. He did not dare to stay in this place for a long time, let alone having any thoughts about Ning Fan's Tao Mountain. He could tell that Ning Fan's immortal ascension had yet to end. He had just ascended the Tao Mountain and had yet to receive the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. It's still not too late to leave now. Since Ning Fan had yet to complete his immortal ascension, he could not send his clones to attack him. He must take this opportunity to escape. The 8 human profound demon immortals were invaded by Ning Fan's baleful qi, leaving them with only half of their combat power. They were already frightened by Ning Fan. How would they still dare to stay in this place and plot against Ning Fan's Dao Mountain? If the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch wanted to retreat, they naturally also wanted to retreat. Unfortunately, this planted Willow City was not a place where they could come and go as they please. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. The current him had yet to complete his immortal ascension. Thus, he could not stop the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch and the others from escaping. After thinking for a while, he did not say anything else. He had the Blood Lotus Spirit equipment. Even if the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch and the others flee to the ends of the world, he would still be able to catch up to them and kill them one by one. Seeing that the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch and the others were about to escape, the Life Immortal Mo heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, if it wasn't for the sake of protecting Ning Fan, he would also not want to become enemies with the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch was the Lord of the Beasts in the Jade Sea. It would be fine if he could kill him in a single strike. However, if he failed to do so and ended up becoming enemies with him, the consequences would be unimaginable. If the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch gives the order to summon the beasts in the Jade Sea, no one knew how many descendants of the Northern Dipper realm would die in the Beast Tide. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch wants to escape. We don't have to take the risk to chase him into the Jade Sea. We just need to stay here and protect this fellow Taoist during his immortal ascension. The Life Immortal Mo ordered the Life Immortal Mo beside him. At the next moment, the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch and the other demon immortals turned around and ran towards the direction of the Jade Sea. Seeing that the Life Immortal Mo did not have the intention to chase after them, the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch heaved a sigh of relief. Before they could run 2 li away, a strong force came and stopped the 9 demon immortals. Who is it? Black Flame roared furiously. In the darkness of the night, 2 young girls stood in front of the 9th spirit. Each of them was rubbing their palms and their eyes were filled with indescribable anger. How dare you sneak attack little butterfly? I will never forgive you. Mu Weiliang clenched her fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. As her soul grew and her body matured, her strength increased rapidly. Her physical body was already comparable to a peak Nirvana realm cultivator. After eating the immortal soul grass for 50 years, she could easily kill a peak profound spirit realm cultivator with just her fists. Her body refinement realm was comparable to a 5th severance immortal body refinement realm body cultivator. She could fight an early profound spirit realm cultivator with just her physical strength. How dare you plot against my master? All of you deserve to die. Zili's black hair fluttered without any wind. Her purple eyes were filled with killing intent. After hunting the Jade Sea Devil beasts for 50 years, Zili's strength had improved a lot. She was just one step away from breaking through to the mid-profound spirit realm. As soon as he saw the 2 girls blocking his way, the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch's eyes widened in shock. Purple Gold Double Spirits. As soon as they heard the name of the Purple Gold Double Spirits, the other 8 demon immortals were shocked. The Life Immortal Mo and the other Life Immortals from the Blood World were also shocked. The Purple Gold Double Spirits was the name that the ferocious beasts of the Jade Sea called Mu Weiliang and Zili. For 50 years, these 2 young ladies would go into the Jade Sea to hunt powerful ferocious beasts when they had nothing to do. One of them was in charge of eating the essence of flesh and blood while the other was in charge of eating the demon cores. Both of them made a name for themselves among the ferocious beasts of the Jade Sea. When Mu Weiliang attacked, golden light would shine while when Zili attacked, purple ripples would appear. That was why they were called the Purple Gold Double Spirits. When the 2 of them joined forces, they could sweep across the entire Jade Sea. No demon or beast could stop them. When the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch was traveling alone, he had sensed the chi of the 2 girls from afar. However, he did not dare to get close to them and he did not know their appearances. Either one of them was someone that he could not defeat. Of course, he did not dare to come into contact with them. Now that he sensed the chi of the two girls, he instantly recognized them. They were the purple-gold double spirits whose names shook the entire Jade Sea. He who was standing at the peak of the Tao mountain nearly lost his Tao heart and failed to become an immortal because of the name, purple-gold double spirits. The purple-gold double spirits. When he lived in Planting Willow City, he would occasionally hear about the famous purple-gold double spirits. However, he had never thought that the two little girls in his house were actually the purple-gold double spirits. It turned out that these two little girls went out every day to wreak havoc in the Jade Sea. Who are the purple-gold double spirits? Mu Weiliang was puzzled. I don't know. Zili shook her head. The two girls exchanged glances with each other and shook their heads. Then, they launched their attacks in unison. Zili stopped the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch while Mu Weiliang stopped the 8 profound human demon immortals on her own. Mu Weiliang's body shone with dazzling golden light. It was unknown what kind of divine ability she used, but a pair of golden butterfly wings grew on her back. Every time she swung her golden fists, one of the demon immortals would be sent flying. The 8 profound human demon immortals were shocked. They hurriedly joined forces and barely managed to block Mu Weiliang's fists. However, they were still at a disadvantage. If the fight dragged on, the 8 of them would definitely be defeated by Mu Weiliang's fists and their lives would be in danger. Zili tapped her feet lightly. Wherever she passed, circles of purplish-black water ripples would appear in the night sky. Her figure was like a ghost, moving extremely fast. The water ripples were formed by the power of the spirit wheel. After the transformation, Zili was quite proficient in using the power of the spirit wheel. Ordinary immortal cultivators would not be able to tell that the water ripples were formed by the spirit wheel. As she waved her palm, purplish-black wind blades slashed towards the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch. Wind was of the wood element. Wood gave birth to fire, and the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch was a fire element demon cultivator. Logically speaking, the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch was least afraid of wood element cultivators, nor was he afraid of wind techniques. However, the wind blades were extraordinarily sharp. Every time they slashed, they would easily pierce through the defense of his demon body. Zili yawned indifferently. She struck out with her palm, and a huge purplish-black palm print blasted the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch away. At the critical moment, the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch used his golden ring to block the palm print, but his face was filled with shock. His strength was much weaker than Zili's. Even with his secret treasure, he could not last too long in Zili's hands. Damn it! We are being held back by the purple-gold evil duo. Even if we don't die in their hands, we will certainly die in the hands of that person later. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch looked at Ning Fan's direction with eyes filled with regret. If he knew that there were no pushovers in this place, he would never have come to seize Ning Fan's Tao Mountain. Zili is fine. I didn't expect even Weiliang to become so violent. With her and Zili's strength, it's more than enough to stop these demons. It's not impossible for them to kill all of them. I don't need to worry about their safety. I just need to focus on transcending the tribulation. Seeing that Mu Weiliang and Zili had the upper hand against the 9 demons, Ning Fan felt relieved. On the peak of the Tao Mountain, the wind was raging. Ning Fan closed his eyes. His black hair danced wildly in the wind and his heart became calmer and calmer. In the night sky, a gigantic black and white ring shadow appeared. Within the ring shadow, countless black and white tribulation clouds were formed. The billowing heavenly tribulation was brewing in the tribulation clouds, but Ning Fan was not afraid at all. After breaking through to the second step, there would no longer be any heavenly tribulation when one breaks through a small cultivation realm. Only when one breaks through a major cultivation realm would the heavenly tribulation descend. There were fewer heavenly tribulations for minor cultivation realms but more heavenly tribulations that were related to one skeletal age. Ning Fan broke through to the peak human profound realm in one go, but the power of the heavenly tribulation was only at the early human profound realm. Thus, he was naturally not afraid of the heavenly tribulation. He had already achieved his Tao, but his Tao image had yet to condense. He wanted to condense his own Tao image under the heavenly tribulation. Suddenly, rumbling sounds came from the tribulation clouds. Streaks of tribulation lightning, tribulation fire and tribulation wind that were half black and half white descended from the sky. The power of the three tribulations was enough to instantly kill a rogue immortal. If an ordinary cultivator wants to resist the tribulation to become an immortal, they must prepare countless life-saving methods. Ning Fan did not need to do that. He let the tribulation lightning strike his body, the tribulation fire burn his body and the tribulation wind corrode his physical body. Why should he dodge? Why should he dodge? This was the best opportunity to improve his metal, fire and wood elemental physiques. To ordinary people, the heavenly tribulation of the first step was terrifying. To Ning Fan, however, it was a great nourishment that was hard to come by. After the rounds of heavenly tribulation, Ning Fan remained unscathed while the cultivation speed of his three physiques increased by 5% each. Under the bombardment of the heavenly tribulation, Ning Fan suddenly realized that his soul was slowly fusing with his primordial spirit. No, to be more precise, his soul was being devoured by his primordial spirit. It was all for the sake of increasing the strength of his primordial spirit. The primordial spirit of an immortal was the soul. If the primordial spirit dies, the soul would be destroyed and the cultivator would lose the chance to reincarnate forever. This young man is actually absorbing the power of the heavenly tribulation of the five elements. Could it be that he has the minor five elements physique? No. It's not the minor five elements physique. This man has the great five elements physique. Even if the minor five elements physique is cultivated to the peak, it can't devour the three strongest tribulations of the first step. The life immortals with the surname Mo witnessed the scene of Ning Fan absorbing the power of the heavenly tribulation with their own eyes. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch and the other demon immortals were also paying attention to Ning Fan's tribulation. Seeing how Ning Fan was so tough and directly refined the heavenly tribulation, their fear towards him grew even stronger. Damn it! I won't be wrong. This man is definitely much scarier than the purple gold evil duo. If he completes his immortal ascension, I will certainly die. I'm going all out. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch violently punched his own chest, causing him to spurt out a few mouthfuls of blood essence. His body immediately turned into a ray of blood light, trying to avoid Zi Li's obstruction and escape. Zi Li let out a soft snort. Her eyes were filled with disdain. With a wave of her small hand, large areas of the night sky began to crumble. Layers of crumbling force blasted towards the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch, forcefully stopping his escape. You want to escape? No way. Damn it. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch coughed out a mouthful of black blood. His chi became much weaker and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. How could he be willing to die here? Sha sha, sha sha, the Tao mountain beneath Ning Fan's feet turned into quicksand and disappeared. The black and white ring shadows and the tribulation clouds also disappeared bit by bit. At this moment, Ning Fan had successfully overcome the heavenly tribulation and officially become an immortal. However, it was not over yet. The starlight of the Big Dipper constellation gently poured down. Ning Fan stood in the night sky. His body was bathed in starlight and his eyes were closed. The aura force of Tao power around him grew stronger and stronger. Gradually, the invisible Tao power turned into two colors, black and white. The black color was the devil sense while the white color was the Tao sense. The black color was the devil heart while the white color was the Tao heart. Ning Fan's eyes were as stubborn as the devil for a moment and as calm as still water the next moment. He stretched out his right palm and a ring that was half black and half white slowly appeared on his palm. His eyes were filled with reminiscence, recalling the enlightenment he had gained in the past 50 years and the process of attaining the Tao step by step. Only he could hear his words because they were the inner voice of his heart. I plucked the cattail grass to make it die. I weave the grass ring to make it live. I interpret the divination notes for others and observe the life and death of others. Then, I bestow the grass ring with the life and death of others. Thus, it has the Tao of others. My life and death have reached perfection. I no longer weave the life and death of others. Instead, I continue to weave my own Tao. My Tao is all the paths that I have walked all the way to the peak mortal profound realm. I have never been obsessed with a certain ability or a certain magic treasure. What I am obsessed with are those people, those things and those warmth. The Tao of obsession contains the stubbornness of the devil nature as well as the persistence of the Tao heart. In the past, what I was obsessed with was the devil sense. Because of my obsession with the devil sense, I turned into a devil and did not hesitate to annihilate all the immortal cultivators just to protect the warmth behind me. If I am obsessed with the devil, there will be no immortals in this world. With this devil sense, I have walked to where I am today. Without the devil sense, I have no self. Now, what I am obsessed with is the Tao sense. Because of my obsession with the Tao sense, I am willing to turn into heaven. I only wish to eliminate all the devils in this world and create a peaceful world like the Big Dipper blood world. I want immortals and mortals to live in peace. I want there to be no more devils in this world. I want the people I care about to live in peace and happiness. If I am obsessed with the heaven, there will be no devils in this world. With this Tao sense, I will continue walking down this path. Without the Tao sense, I will not be able to create a future. A man can grow old and his strength can decline, but his heart can never die and his ideals can never be destroyed. The devil sense and the Tao sense are both my Tao. The Tao and the devil cannot coexist, but I insist on it. Today, I will prove my Tao here and condense all the anomalies. Tao image, appear. As soon as Ning Fan gave the command, the starlight of the Big Dipper immediately trembled and entered his body. His eyes turned sharp. All of a sudden, the entire night sky was covered by his Tao power. All the 7 stars of the Big Dipper disappeared. Extreme darkness descended. This strange phenomenon was formed by Ning Fan's devil sense. In the dark night, 7 illusory white stars suddenly appeared. Those white stars were formed by Tao intent. Demonizing the dark night, Tao turning into the Big Dipper. In the Army Destroyer Star Palace, Shadi's expression changed and he was deeply shocked. The Big Dipper Tao was a heaven-grade phenomenon that only the Big Dipper Immortal Emperor had managed to cultivate. In the past, no one in the Beidou celestial realm was able to cultivate this Taoist image. Not only did Ning Fan cultivate the Tao image of the Big Dipper, but he also cultivated the demonized Dark Night image on the basis of this Tao image. Demonizing the Dark Night Tao image was also at the heaven-grade level, and no one in the entire Beidou immortal realm had ever managed to cultivate it. Ning Fan's Tao elephant contained 2 types of heaven-grade Tao elephants at the same time. The grade of this Tao elephant had long surpassed the heaven grade. A Tao elephant that surpassed the heavenly grade. A Tao elephant that was even more powerful than the Big Dipper Immortal Emperor. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would never believe that there is someone in this world who can cultivate 2 types of heaven-grade Tao elephants at the same time and merge them into one. This young man's innate talent is far beyond my imagination. Perhaps this young man might really be able to defend the blood world 2,000 years later. The Life Immortal Mo and the Black Flame Heavenly Monarch were not Shadi. Thus, they did not know much about the grades of Tao elephants. They only knew that Ning Fan's Tao elephant was very powerful, but they did not know how powerful it was. However, just the scene of Ning Fan condensing his Tao elephant was already enough to astonish all the immortals present. Only those who have achieved Tao validation and achieved Tao attainment would be qualified to condense their Tao elephant. Only those who have condensed their Tao elephant would be qualified to break through to the crossing true realm. Ning Fan had just broken through to the immortal realm, but he had already condensed his Tao elephant and possessed his own Tao. Perhaps in just a few more years, Ning Fan would advance to the crossing true realm and become a true immortal. Not good. This young man has just completed his tribulation and successfully condensed his Tao elephant. He is going to attack us. The Black Flame Heavenly Monarch exclaimed. He frantically summoned his natal magic treasures and attacked Zili. He did not hesitate to ignite his primordial spirit and fled for his life. The expressions of the other 8 demon immortals also changed drastically. They used all of their self-harming methods to flee for their lives. How could they have the courage to fight against Ning Fan? They could not even withstand Ning Fan's aura force. Each of them coughed out blood when Ning Fan glanced at them. How could they be Ning Fan's match? This time, Zili and Mu Weiliang did not stop the 9 demon immortals from escaping. It was because they understood that Ning Fan had already completed his tribulation and he could now personally deal with these demon immortals. Looking at the 9 demon immortals who were fleeing, Ning Fan was not in a hurry to chase after them. His eyes were deep and profound. Suddenly, he raised his hand. Without forming any hand seals, 7 layers of palm imprints appeared on his palm. These palm imprints were not golden in color. They were similar to the heaven-seizing imprint, but they were not the heaven-seizing imprint after all. Those who cultivate the heaven-seizing imprint must have the heaven-seizing imprint. Ning Fan's current Tao sense was not the heaven-seizing imprint. The thought in his heart wasn't the thought of seizing the heavens, but the thought of clinging to the heavens. The palm imprint that he displayed was no longer the heaven-seizing imprint but the heaven-holding imprint that he created himself. It was the heaven-holding imprint. Moreover, it was a technique that he created himself. The moment when a cultivator cultivates the Tao image is the moment and they have the deepest Tao comprehension. It was the most suitable moment for them to create their own abilities. Ning Fan had entered the state of the unity of heaven and man several times. At the moment when the Tao image was formed, he naturally entered the state. At this moment, Ning Fan's Tao comprehension was unprecedentedly deep. The heaven-seizing imprint was the opposite of Ning Fan's Tao. Since it was the opposite of Ning Fan's Tao, it was not Ning Fan's true Tao. The heaven-seizing imprint was stronger than the heaven-defying imprint. Defying the heaven-seizing imprint was equal to the heaven-seizing imprint. The heaven-holding imprint was stronger than the heaven-seizing imprint. Because the heaven-seizing imprint must stand above the heavens. Humans are higher than the heavens. Ning Fan abandoned the finger seals of the 7 heaven-seizing imprint. He only kept the palm forms of these 7 imprints. However, he wanted to recreate the essence of each of them at this moment. The unity of heaven and man. This young man's luck isn't small. If others condense their Tao image, they would only have a slight increase in their Tao comprehension. However, he took the opportunity to enter the unity of heaven and man realm. Besides, after attaining the unity of heaven and man realm, he actually used the first form of the heaven-seizing imprint as the foundation to create his own palm imprint divine ability. Shadi's eyes were filled with shock. The 7 forms of the heaven-seizing imprint were taken from the immortal sovereign Bei Dou's divine ability, the 3,000 Big Dipper seals. What Ning Fan was doing right now was actually improving the divine ability that the immortal sovereign Bei Dou was most proud of. Even though he was only improving the 7 forms of the 3,000 Big Dipper seals and he was using the unity of heaven and man realm to improve his Tao comprehension, how high would his comprehension be in order to improve the divine ability of the immortal sovereign Bei Dou? Even if Ning Fan was currently in the unity of heaven and man realm, how could he improve the immortal sovereign Bei Dou's ultimate art if it wasn't for his extremely high comprehension? On second thought, Ning Fan was able to create a Tao image that surpassed the immortal sovereign Bei Dou's Tao image. What was impossible about improving the immortal sovereign Bei Dou's ultimate art? I wonder to what extent this young man can improve the heaven-seizing imprint to. Shadi's eyes were filled with anticipation. Chapter 749. Ning Fan did not chase after the 9 demon immortals. He just closed his eyes and recalled the inscription on the tablet in his mind. The destruction of the Big Dipper dust calamity, the remnant soldiers turned into emperors, the sacred desolation heaven desolation, the thought of seizing the heavens. The immortal emperor had comprehended 7 of the 3,000 seals, refining the sky into a palm and turning the palm into a seal. He defeated Purple Immortal, defeated the North Arch, and was no match for Mo Zhong. He gave up on the idea of seizing the heavens and started a massacre. He commanded the galaxy and guarded the blood-descendant world. The seize in the heaven-seizing seal referred to the thought of seizing the heavens. The word heaven referred to the process of refining the sky into a palm and turning the palm into a seal. 7 layers of palm prints required the refinement of 7 layers of sky. Sky wielding was to refine one's divine ability into the sky and then into a palm. Ning Fan suddenly opened his eyes. The light of the 7 styles of divine abilities flashed across his eyes. Then, 7 different colored skies appeared above his head one after another. The first color of the sky was a blood-red sky, condensed from baleful energy. Melting the sky to become evil, refining evil into a palm. This seal is called the evil seal. The second color of the sky was the sky of thunder. Rumbling the heavens as thunder, refining thunder as a palm. This seal is called thunder seal. The third color of the sky was the azure misty sky. The sky is the rain, and the rain is the palm. The name of this seal is rain seal. The fourth color of the sky was the sky of sword thought. Cutting the heavens as a sword, refining the sword as a palm. This seal is called sword seal. The fifth color of the sky was the blazing sky. Burning the sky as the fire, refining the fire as the palm. This seal is called fire seal. The sixth colored sky, the sky formed by the Tao of life. Opening the heavens to create life, refining life as a palm. This seal is called the seal of life. The seventh colored sky was the sky formed by the Tao of death. Bury the heavens for death, and refine death for the palm. This seal is called the death seal. The 7 colored sky collapsed one after another, and the 7 layers of palm prints changed colors one after another. In essence, the heaven-holding seal that Ning Fan created was completely different from the heaven-seizing seal. The 7 colored palm imprints merged into one, turning into a black and white palm imprint. In an instant, nearly half of Ning Fan's magic power was depleted. The power of the palm print had almost reached the power of a Duzhen strike. Compared to the heaven-seizing seal, the heaven-holding seal wouldn't drain all his magic power at once. In terms of destructive power, the heaven-holding seal was much stronger than the heaven-seizing seal after it had refined the 7 styles of Ning Fan's divine abilities. At that moment, the heavenly lord of black flame and the other demon immortals had already escaped to the depths of the blue sea. The rain intent in Ning Fan's eyes flashed. The green curtain of rain spread out madly. In just a few breaths' time, it had covered the entire blue sea. He had found the whereabouts of the heavenly monarch of black flame and the others. He suddenly raised his palm and slammed it down. At this moment, the entire Big Dipper blood boundary shook violently. In the next instant, the sky above the heavenly lord of black flames and the others was suddenly covered by a giant black and white palm. The giant palm slammed down. Half of the blue sea was flattened by this palm. Heavenly Monarch Black Flame and the other 8 demon immortals died under Ning Fan's palm before they could react. What a pity! Ning Fan sighed softly. The state of the unity of heaven and man disappeared at this moment. He originally wanted to use the state of the union of heaven and man to create the 8th and 9th palm, but it seemed like it was impossible. After dispersing his Tao image, Ning Fan's gaze swept across the 8-life immortal realm cultivators and cupped his fists. Thank you for your help. I'm Ning Fan, a disciple of the Slaughter Palace. He was thanking them for rushing here to help him. Even though he did not need their help at all, they did it out of kindness. Ning Fan still had to thank them. What? You're Ning Fan, the champion of this year's competition. The expressions of the life immortal realm cultivators changed drastically. The 8 of them were cultivators of the Slaughter Palace. They were responsible for guarding the blood world. Even though they had lived in the blood world for a long time, they had also heard of Ning Fan's infamous name. How could they expect that the person they wanted to save and help was actually Ning Fan, who was so famous in the Eastern Heaven? They heard that Ning Fan had defeated all the outstanding geniuses of the Eastern Heaven with his peak void fragmentation realm cultivation base and obtained the first place in the competition. During the competition, he even went up to the 65th floor of the Tong Tian Tower. If it was in the past, they would never believe that a peak-shattering realm cultivator could go up to the 65th floor of the Tong Tian Tower. They would only treat such rumors as rumors. Now that they witnessed Ning Fan killing 9 demon immortals with a single palm strike, none of them doubted his strength anymore. Speaking of which, the palm imprint that junior brother Ning displayed just now really looks like the heaven-seizing seal, the divine ability that Sha Di must cultivate. One of the life immortal realm cultivators said doubtfully. That's a palm imprint divine ability that I created myself. It's not the heaven-seizing seal. If you look closely, it's still easy to see the difference. Ning Fan answered without changing his expression. The biggest advantage of modifying the heaven-seizing seal into the heaven-holding seal was that he did not need to worry that others would mistake him as a young emperor when he displays this seal. That's right. The heaven-seizing seal is the ultimate technique of every venerated sovereign. Those who learn this seal are either Sha Di or young emperors. Even though junior brother Ning has outstanding innate talent, he has just joined the Slaughter Palace for tens of years. How could he possibly learn the heaven-seizing seal? A few of the life immortal realm cultivators nodded and said. Speaking of which, junior brother Ning actually managed to enter the blood world. Could it be that you were rewarded by Sha Di and obtained the 7 stars boat? Another life immortal realm cultivator asked. Yes. Some time ago, Elder Fei He and I met Venerated Sovereign. Venerated Sovereign thought that it wasn't easy for me to cultivate, so he bestowed me the 7 stars boat and allowed me to enter the blood world to comprehend the Tao and become an immortal. I see. The few life immortal realm cultivators chatted with Ning Fan for a while more and left one after another. Those who had just broken through to the immortal realm needed to go into seclusion immediately to stabilize their cultivation bases. They were all sensible people. Thus, they would not stay here and disturb Ning Fan. What they did not know was that Ning Fan had already consumed 13 corpse liberation pills. His cultivation base was extremely stable now. It would not be a problem even if he did not go into seclusion. After the 8 life immortal realm cultivators left, Ning Fan looked at Mu Weiliang and Zili with a strange expression. After a long time, he felt speechless and said. You two are actually the purple gold double evil spirits. Why didn't you tell me in the past? What are the purple gold double evil spirits? Mu Weiliang was puzzled again. I don't know. Zili shook her head like a rattledrum. All right. These 2 little girls don't know their devil names at all. After returning to his residence, Ning Fan went into seclusion for 10 days. Even though his cultivation base did not need to be stabilized, his Tao image still needed to be stabilized. During these 10 days, Ouyang Nuan and the others naturally guarded Ning Fan during his seclusion. 10 days later, Ning Fan walked out of his room and realized that the outside of his residence was already filled with countless cultivators. There were cultivators from Ji Willow City and cultivators from other cultivation cities and countries. They came here just to pay their respects to the newly advanced immortal who killed 9 demon immortals with a single palm strike, Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not have the mood to pay attention to these people. He only summoned the director of Ji Willow City, Renli, into his residence and dismissed the rest of them. "Big brother, why are you really an immortal?" Renli stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. He had been living with Ning Fan for 50 years. He had always known that Ning Fan was strong, but he had never thought that Ning Fan could be this strong. In Renli's heart, immortals were the strongest beings in this world. Ning Fan, on the other hand, killed 9 demon immortals with a single palm strike and flattened half of the blue sea. That palm strike was so strong that it made Renli's heart palpitate. It would forever be imprinted in his mind and he would never be able to forget it. Ning Fan smiled without answering. He waved his hand and took out a storage pouch and passed it to Renli. "I don't have the habit of being the big brother of others. However, since you have called me big brother for so many years, you can have this storage pouch. The items inside are enough for you to advance to the divine transformation realm." "Big brother, are you leaving?" Renli's expression changed. His eyes were filled with reluctance. He did not have the slightest bit of greed towards the storage pouch in his hand. He was no longer the rascal in the past. However, he could never forget Ning Fan's sharp eyes. "I'm leaving. You have a good aptitude and a good temperament. If you cultivate diligently, it is not impossible for you to become an immortal in this lifetime. Cultivate well." Ning Fan patted Renli's shoulder like an elder and encouraged him. Then, he flicked his sleeve and a breeze blew past them. In an instant, he, Ouyang Nuan and the other women disappeared. Renli was the only one left in the empty house. Renli remained silent and stood on the same spot for a long time. He was born an orphan without parents. No one had ever taught him what to do. If he had not met Ning Fan, he might have been a rascal for the rest of his life. However, he saw Ning Fan's eyes on that day. It was the eyes of a true expert. However, Ning Fan did not take his anger out on him or kill him because of his offense. At that moment, he could not guess Ning Fan's cultivation base. However, he was sure that Ning Fan was stronger than anyone he had ever met. On that day, he learned one thing. A true expert would disdain bullying the weak. Hence, he took Ning Fan as his role model and cultivated diligently, hoping that he could stand at the same height as Ning Fan one day. Thus, he worked hard step by step and finally reached his current cultivation level. He became the lord of a city and made it his responsibility to protect the city. When Ning Fan left, he felt like he had really lost an elder brother. Big brother is a true expert. His strength is not related to his cultivation base. Renli seemed to have understood something and turned around to leave. He had decided to become a true expert just like Ning Fan. Just by turning around, there would be 9 generations of young emperors in the future. Before leaving the Blood World, Ning Fan went to the Broken Army Star Palace to bid farewell to Sha Di. Ning Fan knew that after leaving the Blood World this time, he would probably not be able to return to the Blood World for many years. He drove the 7-star ship and left the Blood World. When he returned to the Blood Sea Star, he realized that Wei Wuji had actually stayed in the outside world for 50 years. Meeting him again after 50 years, Wei Wuji's eyes were filled with astonishment. Part of his astonishment was because Ning Fan had already reached the peak mortal profound realm. 90% of it was because Ouyang Nuan and Ning Fan had already, "Little girl Nuan, was it that brat Ning Fan who raped you? I'll subdue him for you right now." Wei Wuji raised his hand, wanting to summon his Dao weapon to suppress Ning Fan. Ouyang Nuan's face turned red. How should she explain to her master? Tell him that she did it willingly and that she was not raped? How could she say something like that? The only thing she could do was to stand in front of Ning Fan and act as a human wall, not giving Wei Wuji any chance to make a move on her. After causing such a scene, Wei Wuji finally forced himself to accept reality. He also understood his disciples' feelings. However, knowing that his disciple was raped by someone else always made him unhappy. "Brat, there are still 30 years before the opening of the Supreme Pill's sacred region. I must bring little girl Nguyen back to the sect to prepare for the sacred region." That. "If you sincerely beg this old man will be merciful and give you one of the 2 trial slots of the herbal sect so that you can accompany little girl Nguyen into the sanctuary," Wei Wuji said with an awkward expression. The quota of the Supreme Pill's sacred region. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He was no longer a small fry who had just entered the Eastern Heaven. He already had some understanding of the Supreme Pill's sacred region. The word sacred in the sacred region was equivalent to the legendary third-step cultivators, saint. The so-called Supreme Pill sacred region was said to be the place where a saint of the Tao of Pill gathered herbs in ancient times. There was no need to mention how many rare and precious spiritual herbs there were. It was said that there were still many traces of the Pill Saint's pill concoction in the sacred region. The Supreme Pill sacred region would only appear once every 10,000 years. As it was a broken ancient world, cultivators whose cultivation base was higher than the Duzhen realm could not enter it. Otherwise, the world would definitely collapse. Besides, the medicinal qi in this world was extremely dense. If one did not have a high-grade 6th revolution medicine soul or above, they would be assimilated by the medicinal qi as soon as they enter the sacred region. There was once someone who brought out a 9 revolutions emperor pill from the Supreme Pill sacred region. There was also someone who found half of an ancient secret technique of the Tao of Pill from the sacred region. There was even someone who mistakenly ate a 10 million years old spiritual herb that could walk in the sacred region. When he entered the sacred region, his cultivation base was at the early human profound realm. After going into seclusion for 1,000 years, he had completely refined the medicinal power of the herb. By then, he was already at the early Duzhen realm. To pill refinement masters, the Supreme Pill sacred region had an indescribable temptation. It represented a great opportunity. Only the pill refinement sects in the Eastern Heaven immortal world were qualified to enter the Supreme Pill sacred region to search for opportunities. According to the strength of the forces, the strong sects could have 2 quotas to enter the region while the weaker forces could only have 1 quota. No matter how weak the forces were, they could only share 1 quota with a few forces. Each time they competed for the quota, they would have to fight to the death, the place where the saint of the Tao of Pill gathered herbs. Just this name alone was enough to make countless pill refinement masters go crazy. Seeing Ning Fan falling into deep thought, Wei Wuji showed an impatient look. He thought that Ning Fan was considering whether he should ask him for help or not. Ouyang Nguyen looked at her master with displeasure. She felt that her master was too petty. He was obviously a senior, but he always made things difficult for the juniors. Wei Wuji felt extremely embarrassed after being glared at by his precious disciple. "Forget it. I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. Remember to come to the medicine sect 30 years later. I will bring you and Nguyen to the Saint region." Nguyen was supposed to enter the domain with Chiu Sha, but, Wei Wuji's eyes revealed a cold glint when it came to enemies. Wei Wuji didn't continue on this topic and gave Ning Fans a few more instructions. 3 days later, Wei Wuji left the Crimson Sea Star with Ouyang Nguyen and returned to the herbal sect. After Ouyang Nguyen left, Ning Fan actually felt a little empty in his heart. After living together for 50 years, she was not used to parting like this. Mu Weiliang and Zili temporarily returned to the Cauldron world. After returning to the Blood Sea Star, Ning Fan became alone again. He returned to Slaughter City and inquired about the secrets of the Eastern Sky in the past 50 years. 50 years had passed. The excitement of the grand competition in the past was long gone. Ning Fan had also been forgotten by the cultivators of the Slaughter Palace. Of course, it wasn't that no one cared about him. He had just returned to the disciples' dormitory, and before he could even clean up the thick layer of dust, Fei had already come looking for him. The peak of the human profound realm. Good, good, good. Fei He was overjoyed to see that Ning Fan's cultivation had reached the peak of the mortal profound realm. His plan could finally be carried out. His mask of hypocrisy could finally be removed. He. Ning Fan, do you still remember the 1,000,000 years old spiritual herbs and the corpse liberation pill that I gave you? Fei He sneered and changed his hand seal. Ning Fan's eyes were immediately filled with shock. His face instantly turned pale and he fell to the ground with a pained expression. The way he looked at Fei He was filled with shock, anger and fear. Elder Fei. What did you do to my body? It's nothing. I just gave you some of the corpse poison in my body. From the moment you consumed the corpse poison, I only need a single thought to kill you. Don't even think about getting rid of the corpse poison. There is no cure for this poison. It's a poison that I cultivated painstakingly. Unless you break through to the true immortal realm, you won't be able to get rid of this poison. Of course, there's another way to get rid of this poison. If you listen to me, I don't mind sucking the poison out of your body. Fei He revealed his white teeth and gave a creepy smile. Elder, what do you need me to do? Ning Fan gritted his teeth and asked. It's very simple. I'm making a plan. 3 years later, I need your help to get rid of Yao Qingyun. What? Junior's cultivation is low. How can I be Elder Qingyun's opponent? Ning Fan looked terrified. What are you afraid of? I will help you to plot against her. You can even get a beauty for free. Why not? Fei He laughed sinisterly. He threw a pill and a jade slip to Ning Fan and walked out of the room with a sneer. Ning Fan's eyes gradually turned cold. There was no longer any pain on his body. Chapter 750. The pills that Fei He left behind could prevent the corpse poison from flaring up for 3 years. The jade slips he left behind were actually all the cultivation methods of the various sects and clans. Of course, Ning Fan would not consume pills. However, he was rather interested in this jade slip. If he studied the cultivation technique in the jade strip, he could verify it with the yin-yang transformation cultivation technique. Holding the jade slip in his hand, Ning Fan's mind was racing as he pondered about Fei He's scheme. If it was in the past, he would naturally be afraid of Fei He. But now, he was no longer afraid of Fei He. He wanted to see what kind of tricks Fei He would play in 3 years. After Fei He left, he never showed up again. It was said that Fei He had left the Blood Sea Star to do something. Others did not know what Fei He was busy with, but Ning Fan could roughly guess it. Fei He must be busy dealing with Yao Qingyun and himself. After staying in the residence for a few days, Ning Fan left the residence. Just as he was about to go out, an uninvited guest arrived. A green-clothed woman stood outside the door. She seemed to have been standing there for a long time. As soon as he saw the lady's face, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He cupped his fists and greeted her. Disciple Ning Fan greets Elder Qingyun. May I know why Elder Qingyun has come to find this disciple? This consort was just taking a stroll and passed by this place. I have no reason to look for you. Yao Qingyun's tone was extremely cold, but it lacked the hostility of the past. If that's the case, this disciple will not disturb Elder's stroll any longer. Ning Fan bowed again, walked past Yao Qingyun and strode away. Even though he had experienced the baptism of the blood pool, Ning Fan's eyes were still as calm as still water when he looked at Yao Qingyun. There were no ripples in them at all. It was as if he was looking at a stranger. Yao Qingyun's eyebrows furrowed. She was a bit unhappy that no one had come. She coldly said, "Wait. Elder, do you have any orders for me?" Ning Fan turned around and asked. "Stay away from Fei He. That person is not as kind as you think." After saying this, Yao Qingyun turned around and left, leaving behind a fragrant wind. It was the smell of wild ginger flowers. Ning Fan's eyes were slightly startled as he asked in surprise, "Elder, did you come here just to remind me? Don't flatter yourself. I'm just passing by." Yao Qingyun smiled mockingly. Her light figure didn't stop and gradually moved further and further away. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. How could he not know if Yao Qingyun came to remind him on purpose? The grudge between him and Yao Qingyun had been written off in the blood pool. Since Yao Qingyun had kindly reminded him, he would kindly remind Yao Qingyun as well. 3 years. Be careful. These words were spoken through voice transmission. Hearing this, Yao Qingyun's shoulders trembled, and she stopped in her tracks. After a while, he continued to walk further away. It was unknown if he had kept Ning Fan's reminder in mind. He paid a visit to the 12 pavilions and began to purchase the various types of spiritual ores required for the refinement of his Dao soldiers. He had already become an immortal, so he could start to refine a Dao weapon. The impressive aspect of Dao soldiers was that they did not have grades. They were only divided according to the level of concepts. The power of a Dao soldier was related to the cultivation realm of the cultivator. The higher the cultivation realm of the cultivator, the stronger the Dao soldier. Along the way to the 12 pavilions, most of the cultivators of the slaughter palace that they met along the way had already forgotten about Ning Fan. As soon as he saw Ning Fan, he finally remembered that there was such a person in the slaughter palace. When he looked at Ning Fan's cultivation base again, he seemed to have already attained the life immortal realm. However, he could not see through his exact cultivation base. Ning Fan had refined the innate ghost face which had the ability to conceal his cultivation base. If he was unwilling to do so, he could conceal his qi even without summoning the ghost face. Only thought-breaking realm cultivators would be able to see through his true cultivation base. The reason why he was able to see through Ning Fan's cultivation base was obviously because Ning Fan did it on purpose. There were usually 2 ways to refine flying swords. One was to increase the changes of the flying sword's abilities while the other was to increase the sharpness and lethality of the flying swords. The impressive aspect of the memory-severing Dao sword was that it could destroy the memories of others. Its sharpness was secondary. According to Ning Fan's idea, he wanted to maximize the power of the memory-severing Dao sword and increase the changes of the Dao sword's abilities on top of that. After deciding on the direction of refinement, Ning Fan chose a refinement method called illusory sword from the thousands of flying swords. He was prepared to use this method to refine his Dao weapon. Once the refinement is successful, the memory-severing Dao sword would be able to create an illusory sword formation. It would create layers of illusions in the sword formation, drawing out the memories of those who are trapped in the formation and killing the enemy's cultivation base in their memories. Only by refining it in this way could the memory-severing Dao sword unleash its full power. After spending about 10 billion Dao crystals, Ning Fan purchased all the immortal ores that he needed to refine the illusory sword. For the remaining 3 years, Ning Fan stayed in the profound Yin world to refine the memory-severing Dao sword. Inside the profound Yin world, Ning Fan sat at the mouth of a volcano for 3 years, turning the entire volcano into a furnace to refine his Dao weapon. The memory-severing Dao sword was immersed in the magma. Ning Fan tossed various immortal ores into the magma. As Ning Fan changed his hand seal, the temperature of the magma suddenly rose, melting the immortal ores one by one. The memory-severing Dao sword seemed to produce a boundless suction force and began to devour the magma at a crazy rate. The immortal ores that melted in the magma were all devoured by the Dao sword. 3 years later, the magma in the entire volcano was completely devoured. The atmosphere was lifeless and lifeless, turning it into an extinct volcano. Ning Fan bent his palm and beckoned. A flying sword that was as red as a soldering iron flew out from the mouth of the volcano and floated in front of him. Gradually, the temperature of the sword weakened and it returned to its dark golden color. When the heat completely disappeared, Ning Fan reached out and held the hilt of the sword. It felt as cold as ice. This was a sword made of frost. It contained Ning Fan's memories of the past in 7 Apricot City. Feeling the power of the memory-severing Dao sword, Ning Fan nodded with satisfaction. This sword was a Dao weapon condensed from the second step intent realm, memory intent realm. With Ning Fan's current peak human profound realm cultivation base, the sharpness of this sword alone was enough to defeat all human profound realm experts. If he used this sword to activate the phantom sword formation, he could easily kill an early ghost profound realm expert. Naturally, as Ning Fan's cultivation base improved, the power of this sword would also increase. A Dao weapon was a supreme treasure that could be used for a lifetime. Not bad. Ning Fan kept the Dao sword. With a flash, he left the profound Yin world and returned to his disciple's residence. 10 days later, Fei He came to him. Without any nonsense, he directly brought Ning Fan to the teleportation pavilion of the 12 pavilions. It seemed like he was going to teleport him to a certain place. Fei He did not come alone. There were 6 life immortal realm experts who came with him. All of them were his disciples. These 6 life immortal realm experts all practiced the secret technique of the Tao of Corpse. 5 of them had completed the second corpse transformation while the last one had completed the third corpse devil transformation. The one who completed the third corpse devil transformation was an ugly middle-aged man with a late human profound realm cultivation base. As for the other 5, they were either at the early human profound realm or mid-human profound realm. The eyes of the 6 life immortal realm experts were hollow. There was a faint corpse poison planted in their bodies by Fei He. The 6 of them were not like ordinary cultivators of the killing palace who were afraid of Ning Fan. Their eyes were emotionless when they looked at Ning Fan. There were 7 people in Fei He's group. Including Ning Fan, there were 8 of them. Standing outside the teleportation pavilion, Fei He was not in a hurry to use the teleportation formation of the star region. Instead, he was waiting for someone at a leisurely pace. Ning Fan did not ask much. He could guess that Fei He was going to deal with Yao Qingyun and himself. He could also guess which companions Fei He was waiting for. However, Ning Fan could not figure out who exactly Fei He was waiting for. When the person Fei He was waiting for arrived late, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with surprise. He saw a lady in green walking towards him with light steps. Behind her were 2 old maids whose faces were covered with ghost masks. The person Fei He was waiting for was actually Yao Qingyun. I didn't expect Elder Qingyun to accept this elder's mission together with me. It really surprises me. Fei He said with a sinister smile. Surprises? I don't think you are that surprised. Let's go. The sooner we complete this mission, the better I will feel at ease. Yao Qingyun sneered. Her phoenix-like eyes shifted slightly. When she saw that Ning Fan was actually going with Fei He, she could not help but feel displeased. Didn't I remind him to stay away from Fei He? He actually turned a deaf ear to her words. He must have suffered a great loss before he knew that Fei He had ulterior motives. This trip is quite dangerous. Why did Elder Fei bring so many burdens? In my opinion, these 7 people don't need to follow us. Without the cultivation base of the true enlightenment realm, entering that secret place is simply courting death. Yao Qingyun's eyes swept across the 7 life immortal realm cultivators with a sneer. He. With the 2 of us taking care of them, what kind of danger can these juniors face? It's also good to let them follow us to gain some knowledge. Or could it be that Elder Qingyun is worried about one of them? How ridiculous. What does the death of your people have to do with me? Why would I be worried about their lives? Those who don't listen to others and don't know what's good for them should just die. Yao Qingyun glared at Ning Fan coldly and brought the 2 maidservants behind her into the teleportation pavilion. Fei He looked at Yao Qingyun's back and then looked at Ning Fan. His smile became colder and weirder. Ning Fan's expression was still as calm as an ancient well, but his heart was quite surprised. With his wisdom, how could he not see that Yao Qingyun was concerned about him? She called him a burden because she was afraid that he would be too deeply involved with Fei He. Have you been practicing the dual cultivation technique for the past 3 years? Fei He asked coldly all of a sudden. Ning Fan's expression didn't change. Yes. That's good. He. That's good. If you help me accomplish my task, I will not treat you unfairly. Not only will I let you have a night with the beauty, I will also cure you of the poison after the task is completed. If you dare to have any disloyalty, I will make you regret coming to this world. Having said that, Fei He brought his 6 disciples into the teleportation pavilion. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with an undetectable cold light. After thinking for a while, he also entered the pavilion. From the conversation between Fei He and Yao Qingyun, Ning Fan had obtained a lot of information. He knew that Fei He and Yao Qingyun were going to a secret place to complete an elder's task. The elder's task was not a task issued by an outsider. Instead, it was an internal task of the Slaughter Palace. Only those with at least Qigong cultivation realm could accept it. Moreover, the elder's task was usually very dangerous. At least 2 elders had to accept the task at the same time in order to be qualified to complete it. Ning Fan sighed softly. He had clearly reminded Yao Qingyun to be careful in the next 3 years. It seemed like Yao Qingyun did not take his warning to heart. She actually wanted to complete the task together with Fei He. Forget it. I'll help Yao Qingyun a little when necessary. Both he and Yao Qingyun were Fei He's enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Even though Ning Fan had the jade slip of the 3 styles and was not afraid of Fei He, he would certainly not reject such a good thing if he could have a friend who could go against Fei He and save some of his trump cards. The place where Fei He and Yao Qingyun were going was the 6 Desires Star region, which was hundreds of star regions away from the Blood Sea Star region. It was a high-grade star region. The strongest force there was the 6 Desires sect. The progenitor of the 6 Desires sect was an immortal king who had once shaken the entire eastern heaven. Ever since the death of the 6 Desires immortal king, the 6 Desires sect became weaker and weaker with each generation. Now, the current sect master was just an early true crossing realm cultivator. With such a cultivation base, he could barely take charge of the 6 Desires Star region. It was absolutely impossible for him to restore the prestige of the 6 Desires sect. As soon as they arrived at the 6 Desires Star region, Fei He immediately took out a giant ship and carried everyone to the 6 Desires sect. Along the way, Fei He and Yao Qingyun did not speak a word. Naturally, Fei He's 6 disciples would not speak as well. Ning Fan also did not want to talk at first. However, the 2 maids of Yao Qingyun took the initiative to talk to him. What they were talking about was actually the specific content of the elder's task. Judging from little friend's expression, you certainly don't know the specific content of the elder's task, right? Yan Hong asked indifferently. Yes. Ning Fan replied politely. To be honest, he had a good impression of the 2 maids of Yao Qingyun. Both of them were old women with ugly appearances. However, they were sensible people. When Ning Fan annihilated the Yao family in the past, the 2 maids did not hate him like Yao Qingyun. Instead, they were grateful to him. Little friend, you might not know this, but a few months ago, the cave world where 6 Desires immortal king had been missing for many years suddenly reappeared. At that time, the cultivators who discovered the cave world had already been killed. Currently, only a few people in the entire eastern heaven know about the emergence of this cave world. The elder's task this time is to enter the cave world of the progenitor of the 6 Desires immortal king and find the 3 supreme treasures of the 6 Desires immortal king, the blue burning fan, the desire releasing pearl and the separation and reunion sword. 6 Desires immortal king. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He had once heard the name of this immortal king who had already passed away. All of them were 12 Nirvana postnatal immortal treasures which were incomparably powerful. The sharpness of the separation and reunion sword was enough to split the spatial barrier of a medium-sized world. The fire power of the blue burning fan was enough to incinerate an immortal king of the same level. The desire-releasing pearl, on the other hand, was a protective treasure. After wearing it, the wearer would not be disturbed by the heart devil for the rest of their lives. Moreover, it could resist all attacks of desire below the immortal emperor realm. With these three treasures, Six Desires' immortal king was invincible when he was still alive. He had even defeated a fifth tribulation immortal king with his fourth tribulation realm cultivation base. So, the Elder's task this time is to find the three supreme treasures left behind by Six Desires' immortal king. Ning Fan guessed that He would probably use this opportunity to deal with him and Yao Qingyun. If that's the case, the cave world of Six Desires' immortal king might be a trap set up by He. Yan Hong paused for a moment and secretly transmitted her voice to Ning Fan. Mistress is here for the desire-releasing pearl and to get rid of the poison of desire in her body. Why are you telling me this? Ning Fan frowned and asked using telepathy. He did not think that his relationship with Yao Qingyun was so good that they could confide in each other. The desire-releasing pearl. Only men who cultivate dual cultivation methods can activate it. If there's a desire-releasing pearl here, I hope that you can help Mistress activate it. Yan Hong explained. Why me? Ning Fan's frown deepened. Even if the desire-releasing pearl could only be activated by men, there was no need to look for him. After all, the desire-releasing pearl was a 12th nirvana-acquired heavenly treasure. It was only a step away from the innate realm. How could Ning Fan activate a magical treasure of such a level? Besides, why did Yao Qingyun's maidservants trust him so much? His relationship with Yao Qingyun wasn't considered good. They used to be enemies, but now, they could be considered to have cleared their grudges. When the blood pool incident happened, Lu Lan and I already knew about it. You are a good person. You didn't take advantage of Mistress's crisis to do something beastly. The process of activating the desire-releasing pearl is very dangerous. As long as the possessor of the pearl harbors evil thoughts, Mistress will lose her life. Among the men who know about Mistress's physique, you are the most trustworthy one. Ning Fan did not know what to say. He thought that Yao Qingyun's two maidservants were much smarter than Yao Qingyun. Now, it seemed like both the master and the maidservants were equally stupid. If it wasn't because he could not withstand Yao Qingyun's magic power, he would have already plucked her. If it wasn't because Yao Qingyun had rebellious thoughts in her heart that day, even if he could not pluck her, he would most likely have dual cultivation with her to complete the steal of sun and moon. He really wasn't a good person. Just because he could not withstand Yao Qingyun's magic power, even his womb would not be able to withstand it. Young Master Ning, we know that you are a good person. Lu Lan also interrupted. They gave Ning Fan good person cards one after another. He just felt speechless. Fortunately, his relationship with Yao Qingyun had indeed improved a lot. If Yao Qingyun really needs his help, he would not mind giving her a helping hand. Of course, the prerequisite was that Yao Qingyun had to pay him a sufficient reward. If there is really a desire-releasing pearl in the secret place and we manage to find it, I don't mind helping Elder Qingyun. After the deed is done, I will ask for the reward. Ning Fan replied. Of course. If young Master Ning can really help Mistress get rid of the desire poison, the reward is just a small matter. Lu Lan and Yan Hong were overjoyed. Fine. They even got addicted to calling him young Master Ning. Ning Fan was obviously a life Immortal Realm junior while the two ladies were true Immortal Realm seniors. Calling them young Master Ning made it seem like the two of them were inferior to him. Let's talk about it after we find the desire-releasing pearl. This trip isn't as simple as you think. Ning Fan said with a frown. Mistress also said that we must be careful of He during this trip. If it isn't for the desire-releasing pearl, Mistress won't go with He. The two maids said. Oh. She isn't that stupid. She knows that Fei He isn't a good person. Ning Fan's eyelids twitched. Of course, mistress isn't stupid. She just cares too much about the past and is too lonely. The two maids sighed softly. If it was just because of the past, Yao Qingyun might not have given the Yao clan so much help. Perhaps, Yao Qingyun was just too lonely. Even though the Yao clan had betrayed her, it was still her homeland after all. She was too lonely. She was so lonely that she couldn't bear to see the Yao clan being destroyed and losing the greatest hope in her heart. Lu Lan, Yen Hong. Since when did the two of you become so close to this young man? Why didn't I know about it? Yao Qingyun's phoenix eyes were filled with anger as she scolded them coldly. After being scolded by Yao Qingyun, the two maids no longer dared to talk to Ning Fan. At the next moment, Yao Qingyun's voice entered Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. It was a telepathic message. If you dare to touch Lu Lan and Yen Hong, I will never let you go. They are my family. I won't allow anyone to touch them. Ning Fan was speechless. Was he that thirsty to lay his hands on two old women? If Lu Lan Yan Hong looked younger, she might be a beautiful woman. But now, Lu Lan Yan Hong looked like an old woman. If he really touches the two old women, it would really be a heavy taste for him. Even though Yao Qingyun's threatening words made Ning Fan speechless, it also made him think highly of her. This Yao Qingyun is indeed a person who values relationships. She treats the two maids as her family. Even though she is a little dumb, she isn't completely useless. They remained silent throughout the journey. 3 days later, they arrived at the Six Desires planet. Beside the Six Desires planet, a gigantic and strange black hole was quietly rotating in the starry sky. That black hole was the entrance to the Six Desires Immortal King's cave world. At this moment, the entire Six Desires planet was sealed off by 3 groups of experts. No one was allowed to reveal any information about this secret place. Among the 3 groups of experts, one of them was an expert from the Slaughter Palace. The other 2 groups of experts knew about the location of the cave world and they wanted a share of the spoils. These 2 groups were naturally not as strong as the Slaughter Palace. Hence, they did not dare to covet the treasures of the Six Desires planet. What they wanted was just to enter the cave world and have a share of the spoils. Hee. Isn't this Elder Fei and Elder Qingyun? Since the 2 elders are here, I suppose we can enter the cave world now. Just as Fei He's group approached the Six Desires planet, 2 rays of early void-rending traveling light approached the giant ship from afar. Chapter 751. In just the blink of an eye, the 2 rays of traveling light had already traveled a great distance and landed on the gigantic ship. 2 figures then appeared. The person on the left was an old man with a red face. He had a green wine gourd hanging on his waist. His body carried a strong smell of alcohol. He was an early Shikong realm cultivator and the Tao he cultivated was the Tao of wine. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Ever since he achieved the Tao of wine, he could already slightly distinguish the Tao of others. The person on the right was a middle-aged man in grey robes. He carried 4 sword cases on his back. His eyes were as sharp as swords as if they could pierce through the starry sky with just a glance. He was also an early Shikong realm cultivator and the Tao he cultivated was the Tao of sword. After attaining the second step, the gap between Ning Fan and Shikong realm old monster was shrinking bit by bit. However, it also made him feel the terror of Shikong realm old monster even more. Ning Fan looked at the red-faced old man and the grey-robed middle-aged man and took a deep breath. If it wasn't because he had many life-saving methods, he firmly believed that the 2 of them could crush him to death with just their Tao sense. I was wondering who it was. So it's the old ancestors of the Jun family and the Wei Chen sword sect. Yao Qingyun said indifferently, revealing their identities. It was unknown whether she wanted to explain to the 2 maidservants or to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes flickered and he understood. So, the red-faced old man is the old ancestor of the Jun family of the Eastern Heaven, Jun Linyuan. As for the gray-robed middle-aged man, he was the old ancestor of the Wei Chen sword sect, Wei Chenzi. The two of them were famous figures in the world. Ning Fan just did not recognize them. How could he not know their names? After introducing the two of them, Yao Qingyun waved her hand and created a barrier that could isolate sound and spirit sense. The four Shikong realm cultivators were discussing something inside the barrier. Most of them were talking about the matter of entering Six Desires Immortal King's abode. No one knew what they were talking about, but the old ancestor of the Jun family suddenly looked at Ning Fan and the other life immortal realm cultivators with an unpleasant expression. The gray-robed middle-aged man frowned and looked at Ning Fan and the other life immortal realm cultivators with displeasure. Of course, Ning Fan had no idea how he had provoked these old monsters. Behind the barrier, the old ancestor of the Jun family said to Fei He with a cold voice of his own. "Didn't we agree before? If you can find the 3 treasures of the 6 desires, they will belong to the Slaughter Temple. However, only 2 people from the Slaughter Temple can enter this world, no more. The Jun family and the Tiny Dust Sword sect have sacrificed the 3 treasures in exchange for a total of 12 slots to enter the realm. Fellow Taoist Wei Chen and I will take 2 slots, and the remaining 10 slots will be given to the juniors of the clan and sect. Our disciples were competing with the cultivators of the Jun family for these 10 places. But now, you've sent 2 Dujin cultivators and 7 life immortals in addition to 2 elders. Are you trying to monopolize the places and only give 1 place to the juniors of our sects?" Wei Chenzi's eyes were also filled with anger. 6 Desires Immortal King's cavern world was very special. The entire cavern world was supported by 14 boundary pillars, and only 14 people could enter at a time. Unless 1 person died in the cave world, the 15th person would never be able to enter. Even if they wanted to release their servants from their heavenly abodes or world treasures, they could not do so. The Jun family and the Tiny Dust Sword sect knew that they would not be able to get their hands on the 3 treasures, so they only asked for more elite disciples to enter as a precious trial. They gave up on the 6 desires and 3 treasures in exchange for 10 spots for their disciples and juniors to enter the realm to train. Who would have thought that Fei He and Yao Qingyun would actually insist on bringing their respective people into the world? Lu Lan, Yen Hong and Ning Fan were the 6 life immortals of the Tao of Corpses. There were a total of 9 of them and they were going to occupy the 9 slots. If Ning Fan and the others are really allowed to enter the 6 Desires cavern world, the 2 sects can only send 1 disciple in at most. Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi couldn't accept this. It was true that the Massacre Hall was powerful, and the Jun family and the Microcosm Sword clan were far weaker than them. However, in terms of cultivation level, Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi were no weaker than Yao Qingyun and Fei He, and they had the courage to fight for what was right. I'm worried about Lu Lan Yanhong staying in the outer realm. We must bring them into the cavern world. We can't give up these 2 spots. Yao Qingyun's words were decisive, not allowing anyone to refuse. Elder Qingyun, you can temporarily keep them in the dimensional space of the world treasure. Before Wei Chenzi could finish his words, Yao Qingyun interrupted him with a sneer. Why should my people hide in the space of the world treasure? Why can't they enter the cavern world openly? Wei Chenzi's face turned even darker when he saw how overbearing Yao Qingyun was. The people this old man brought are also very useful. Fei He smiled mysteriously. Before Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi's faces turned even darker, he added, however, I'm not an unreasonable person. How about this? Don't the juniors have 10 spots to fight for? Let them fight for it themselves. What do you think? All right. The cultivators of the Jun family are fighting for the 10 spots with the cultivators of the Microcosm Sword sect in the 6 Desires sect. Let's bring the 9 people that the 2 elders brought along to participate in the fight for the spots. Whoever wins the spots will be qualified to enter the cavern world. If they can't get the spots, they can only blame themselves for being weak. They have no one else to blame. Jun Linyuan sighed and nodded. Yao Qingyun nodded. Wei Chenzi also had no objection. Yao Qingyun waved her hand to remove the soundproof barrier. Fei He smiled coldly and changed his hand seal. The giant ship turned into a ray of light and descended towards the Six Desires planet. After breaking through the layers of astral wind, the giant ship finally landed outside the gate of the Six Desires sect. At the moment, a high platform had been set up outside the gate of the Six Desires sect. Below the platform, a group of cultivators stood on both sides. The cultivators on the left were dressed in green robes. They were all cultivators of the Jun family. There were about 70 of them. The lowest cultivation level was that of an individual immortal, while the highest was a mid-stage ghost mystic. The cultivators on the right all wore sword robes and carried sword cases on their backs. They were all cultivators of the microcosm sword sect. There were about 100 of them, ranging from individual immortals to the late-stage ghost mystic. The cultivators who were fighting for the spots were less than 100,000 years old. To the two great forces, these people were all talents worth nurturing. On the high platform, a cultivator of the Jun family was fighting with a cultivator of the microcosm sword sect. However, the giant ship's landing was so loud that the two of them hurriedly separated, not daring to continue the fight. "Greetings, Grand Ancestor," the cultivator of the Jun family said loudly. "Greetings, Grand Ancestor." The cultivators of the microcosm sword sect cupped their fists. While they were greeting the old ancestors of their respective forces, they were also surprised to find that the two elders of the slaughter palace had already arrived. The four void dwellers flew off the ship while Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi informed their disciples about the 9 cultivators from the killing hall participating in the competition. What? The people of the slaughter palace also want to fight for the 10 spots? Many cultivators near the high platform said indignantly. When Lu Lan and Yan Hong heard the words of the 2 Shikong cultivators, they were slightly stunned. Before they could understand what they were fighting for, they heard Yao Qingyun's telepathic message. They seemed to have understood something and did not ask any further. Ning Fan, on the other hand, frowned slightly. He had no idea what kind of spots they needed to fight for in the cave world. A hint of doubt crept into his mind for no reason. He just felt that the emergence of Six Desires' Immortal King's cave world was a little strange. If this is Fei He's scheme against him and Lu Lan, how could other forces know about the emergence of the cave world given Fei He's shrewdness? How could he let 2 unrelated Shikong cultivators enter the cave world at the same time? Isn't he afraid that they will disrupt his plan? Did Fei He make a careless arrangement and leak the news? Or could it be that Fei He is acquainted with the old ancestor of the Jun family and old ancestor Wei Chenzi? Are they the same people who want to plot against Yao Qingyun and Ning Fan together? With Fei He's gloomy personality, it was indeed not strange for him to ask the 2 Shikong cultivators for help in order to deal with Yao Qingyun. Perhaps, Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi are really Fei He's people. Or maybe they are not, perhaps, Fei He does not plan to deal with me and Yao Qingyun in the cave world. Ning Fan's brows were tightly knitted together. At this moment, he really wanted to take out the jade slip that contained the attack of an immortal venerate and eliminate Fei He. All of a sudden, the yin-yang locket in his dantian trembled slightly. All of a sudden, Ning Fan seemed to have understood something. His eyes turned slightly cold as he glanced at each of the participants. The cultivators of the Jun family, the Wei Chen sword sect and the 6 life immortal realm cultivators that Fei He brought here all felt that something was wrong. Ning Fan's heart sank when he glanced at Fei He, Jun Linyuan and Wei Chenzi. He seemed to have understood something but he was not sure. If everything is as I expected, this trip to the cave world will be a great opportunity for me. The cultivation method of the yin-yang transformation can improve greatly. There are dangers but the opportunities are not small either. Judging from the chi of these people, that person's strength will not exceed the peak thought fragmentation realm. He turned around and told them about the discussion with Zhu Shikong in detail. Then, he ordered Ning Fan and the others to fight for the quota to enter the cave world. Ning Fan and the other 8 immortal realm cultivators jumped off the giant ship and landed on one side of the high platform. They had to fight for the quota no matter what for the great opportunity that he had secretly discovered. There was no one on the high platform anymore. The eyes of one of the rogue immortals of the Jun family suddenly turned blank. As if he was being controlled, he leaped onto the platform and sneered. He raised his hand and pointed at Ning Fan. "You, come up and fight me." Lu Lan and Yan Hong's expressions changed. Even Yao Qingyun's expression changed slightly. Doesn't this rogue immortal of the Jun family know who Ning Fan is? Doesn't he know about Ning Fan's infamy? How dare he challenge Ning Fan? Alright, even if he doesn't know about Ning Fan's infamy, how could a mere rogue immortal have the guts and confidence to defeat Ning Fan? One should know that Ning Fan had concealed his cultivation realm at this moment. Ordinary people would not be able to tell which life immortal realm he was at. However, Ning Fan did not conceal his identity. This rogue immortal should be able to tell that Ning Fan was an immortal realm cultivator. How dare he challenge an immortal realm cultivator? Could it be that this young man thinks that he can defeat a life immortal realm cultivator? Ning Fan was not surprised at all. He thought to himself, as expected. Without saying anything else, he leaped onto the high platform. As soon as he got onto the high platform, the rogue immortal of the Jun family acted as if he had gone mad. He directly used his strongest trump card. He raised his hand and took out an offensive jade slip of the mortal profound attack. This person actually had the ruthless intention to kill Ning Fan with a single strike. How dare you? This young man is a cultivator of my slaughter palace. How dare you, a junior of the Jun family, attack a cultivator of my slaughter palace with a deadly attack? Yao Qingyun's beautiful face was cold and her eyes were filled with anger. She did not have the intention to save Ning Fan. She knew that Ning Fan was at the peak mortal profound realm and he could easily withstand that attack. However, she was still angry. She was angry for no reason. How dare a cultivator of the Jun family attack Ning Fan with a deadly attack? This kind of behavior had offended her. Hee. Didn't I tell you just now? This competition is a battle of life and death. Killing is allowed. Jun Linyuan chuckled and answered. Is that so? Then don't regret it. All the cultivators of your Jun family who participated in the competition will be slaughtered. Yao Qingyun sneered. As soon as she finished speaking, she ignored Jun Linyuan and fixed her eyes on the high platform. The jade slip that the rogue immortal of the Jun family took out turned into a ray of golden sword light. It carried the power of an early mortal profound realm cultivator and fiercely slashed at Ning Fan's head. That attack contained the intention to kill. However, this time, Ning Fan did not get angry when facing an enemy who wanted to kill him. Instead, he just felt pity. He had already seen through the strangeness of this competition with the help of the Yin Yang locket. Even though he felt pity, he could not let this rogue immortal go. He could no longer be saved. The only thing he could do was to send this rogue immortal to his death as a cultivator. The power of the golden sword light was enough to destroy a low-grade cultivation planet. In the face of this sword light, Ning Fan no longer had the fear he had many years ago. He just casually raised his palm and clenched his 5 fingers. An unimaginable destructive force immediately swept across the high platform along with a rumbling sound. The sword light was shattered. The rogue immortal was dead. Ning Fan kept his primordial spirit into his soul pouch. After refining it with a secret technique in the future, he could use it as a medium to cast the spirit blast technique. At the moment when the rogue immortal died, a ray of silver light that was as thin as a hair entered Ning Fan's body. How dare you? You deserve to die for killing a cultivator of my Jun family. An early mortal profound realm old monster of the Jun family was enraged, that you're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.